This program is brought to you by Apply Mortgages.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Monday Night Pool here on Free Sports. Stephen Jameson and Simon Webb with you for the Ultimate Pool Masters, and we are so excited to be here. It's great to be back. It feels like we've been away a little bit longer than we perhaps have, but what a competition in store to return with.
Yeah, absolutely. Really excited to be back. It's been nice to have 2 or 3 weeks off, play a little bit of golf, but now we're back. We're back in with some exciting pool on the way.
Yeah, brand new competition, brand new players, brand new format, the works. We've really done everything up, including mine and Simon's very nice digital looking studio here. New format, new competition. Here's everything you need to know.
The Ultimate Pool Masters brings together the best players around and puts them to the ultimate test. 64 players start with 16 groups of 4. Each night, 4 players will be featured with 2 semi-finals and a final, with 1 player advancing through the group into the next stage. Once we're through to the last 16, we'll have 4 more 4-to-1 format nights, leaving us ultimately with our final 4. Then, on finals night, we have 2 semi-finals and our grand final to crown the winner. The matches themselves are set to a 50-minute match clock. It's a race to 8 frames or 0 on the clock, whichever comes first. A 45-second shot clock is in operation, with the final 10 minutes introducing a 15-second shot clock, where only the quick thinking will survive. If a match is tied as the clock runs out, a 6-red shootout will decide the winner. We're playing international 8-ball rules, so a foul introduces cue ball in hand for your opponent, but the basic premise remains the same. Pick a colour set, pot your balls, then pot the 8-ball. There's £20,000 in the prize pot, and at the end of it all, the winner will pocket 10 grand, a worthy prize for a marathon event. Welcome to the Ultimate Pool Masters.
Well, what a competition in store. Me and Simon have been knowing about this for weeks upon weeks. We cannot wait to bring this one to you. We've had plenty of time behind the scenes to think about this competition and to get ready for it. Si, what are you most looking forward to?
I think I'm looking forward to the players just being given that fraction more time, just as different dynamic we've seen with Shootout Pool, we've seen with the previous event, that the players are really put under it with time pressure, whereas this time they're going to have that a little bit longer just to think about things and consider things. They're still under time pressure, but not quite as much, and I think we're going to see some absolutely incredible pool throughout this competition. Yeah,
it's a format which should, in theory at least, see the cream rise to the top, although in that reference, there's an awful lot of cream, isn't there?
It's a very stacked field, it really is. It's one of the things I think Ultimate Pool are trying to do, bring the pool world together, and this tournament is absolutely stacked. The last tournament was, but this is even more stacked. There's more and more great players being entered into this competition.
Yeah, so many great matchups to come through the course of the tournament. We'll get on more on that later. Let's take a look at the lineup tonight, because it's a really, really great opening to the show. Jordan Shepherd versus Clint Ianson, Steve Singh versus Jez Graham. It's some way to kick things off, isn't it, with Jordan Shepherd versus Clint Ianson in particular. That's a standout matchup.
It's not just a standout matchup tonight, it's one of the standout matchups of the whole competition, the whole first round. It really is 2 players that could absolutely be in the final of this competition. It really is that big a blockbuster of an opening match, and it's going to be a tough one to call. It's a bit of a coin flip. Both players have beaten each other. Both players could more than capable of beating each other tonight and going through and going all the way. But it's not just about getting through that match. They then got to get through the next match as well. Although the winner of the first match would be favourite in the second match, both Steve and Jez are more than capable of getting through and causing an upset in that second match.
I was speaking to them both earlier. They would love to cause an upset as well. We are almost ready to go with Ultimate Pool, the Masters. Let's take a look at this to get ourselves fully hyped up ahead of competition. Well, there's the main man, the Shootout King, they call him. That is Jordan Shepherd. He takes on Clint Jansen in tonight's opening match. He's won the lag. He will be breaking first. I say that, it looks like Clint has won the lag, and it'll be Clint breaking first. Either way, we're underway, and a great opportunity here to get this tournament going, Simon. It's two really, really standout players from the black ball form of the game. We've seen Jordan enough times in Shootout Pool 1 free sports. We've seen it so often, and he's had so much success in shootout events as well that we've almost become used to his level of success and his performance level. Didn't give us his best in the Champions League, I think it's fair to say, but what an opportunity here for Clint Jansen to play his first big event on the Ultimate Pool side of things, and he's not been gifted an easy first draw. A real chance there to showcase exactly what he can do. Yeah, absolutely. I think both players can look at the draw and feel like they could have got a better draw, but that's the way it goes sometimes, and they'd have been used to it, and they just have to get on with it. But yeah, for Clint Jansen, he'll be just excited to get going. He won't have played much pool over the last 18 months or so, as everyone hasn't, but he didn't play in the previous event on Ultimate Pool, so he's had very little competitive pool. And I know he'd be excited to get out there and get going again. And from Jordan Shepherd's side of the table, you know, it was a very disappointing event for him, the previous one, the Champions League. He didn't really turn up at all by his own admissions. He played a really poor night of pool, and you know, he needs to rediscover his form. The one thing I will say is, chatting to Jordan earlier, he's put the time and he's put the effort in to sort of almost put that last performance away and go again and rediscover that form. So I suspect both players are going to play some great pool in this match, and I think it could come down to who gets the most chances. Yeah, on paper it's an unbelievable matchup, isn't it? And you just hope that both players arrive something like their best form, because if they do, what a fireworks start to the tournament. Clint Jansen, by the way, in the background of that little preamble, Simon has made a couple of absolutely lovely shots, and he's well on the way here. He's made a couple of difficult pots, one of which into the middle. He needs another decent one here, but he's close to 1-0. This is the last key shot, really. Rest should be elementary from here, if this is successful.
He's okay. He's a little thinner on this than is ideal, but he's controllable. He doesn't need to get perfect on this 8-ball, just anywhere past the break line, give himself a shot at it. Don't risk trying to get straight in on it and ending up behind that yellow or anything like that. Just give yourself a shot and back yourself to make it. And that's one of the things that Clint does so well.
Yeah, it's one of the things that really stands out about Clint Jansen.
Although commentator's curse on that one.
We've given him it, that's for sure. I think he can just swerve to this. This is not the shot that he wanted to kick things off. He's got time to look at it. This is one thing he's got the advantage of in this competition. On a 20-second shot clock, you don't really have the time to get the angle behind it and have a look at it.
I think he's on this. I think he's just walked around to make sure. No, he is playing this with just a trace of side, so he's having to bend this round just a fraction. And he bent it around too much, so that positional shot has cost him. And what's worse for Clint Jansen is the black has also popped away from the corner pocket, so the yellow also goes. And Jordan can use that yellow to develop the yellow on the side rail. And if this next positional shot and developing shot comes out, then they'll all be sitting there for him.
That's worst possible case scenario, isn't it, for Clint Jansen? Jordan Shepherd, way too good an operator to turn an opportunity like this down.
Not the perfect nudge. Would rather have it's sat over the middle pocket, but he does have the next shot, and he can work a way to play on this yellow down the rail in a few shots' time. Can't do it from this ball. He wanted to probably finish a little bit lower so he could just top through to take the one on the rail next. So that's the obvious ball to get on the bad ball out the way. Still shouldn't be a problem for him, and he could, if he wanted to, still try and move it. He has the perfect angle to move it now. Just nudge it over the centre with control. Nicely done.
Just like that. See, that's where the commentators sort of gift comes into play, but it's only when it goes wrong is it a curse. Simon talking that one out beautifully for Jordan, and this is lined up as easy as you like for the Welsh wizard. It should have been 1-0 Clint Ianson, but no doubt about it, it's 1-0 Jordan Shepherd. 1-0.
That's what you have to do, punish the mistakes. Clint Ianson got the first opportunity. I said this match will come down to who gets the most opportunities. Well, he's had one there, didn't take it. Jordan Shepherd had the opportunity to counter clear and he took it, punished that mistake, and he takes the lead and he has the break.
Well, this is the Welsh Wizards, 30 from Doncaster. He has got such a phenomenal record. 5 times shootout champion, as well as multiple wins on the IPA circuit as well. But it's the shootout where he's really made his name. He's always been known as a quality player in black ball, and the way he approaches the game, the freedom with which he plays, the maverick nature of his style. He is box office to watch, and seems to have found his home in shootout, Paul. It's the sort of atmosphere he thrives on once we get the fans back in and we get the atmosphere going, and it's a format that suits him. He is such a quick player.
He's a player that the clock won't affect him. And okay, this tournament is 45 seconds a shot for the first 40 minutes of the match, so 45 seconds is enough time for most players. But when it gets down to the back end of these matches, if it's tight, then he's definitely going to have an advantage going into those sections. But the sort of reputation he's built in shootout, Paul, winning five events so quickly, it's a format that you'd say really does suit him. He's such a quick thinker, such an inventive player. That was a lovely little nudge to open up a ball as well. The reason he's having a look down the table, he still has a problem with that red by the 8 ball, and the other one in the triangle area is still a little bit of a problem. It does have room, but landing on it nicely isn't easy. It's by no means a clean run to the line in this frame. Trying to move it now, and that has not worked out. It wasn't a good angle to go into the 8 ball and the red. At best, he probably was hoping to have at least a shot on the red at the top of the table.
Tough looks for Jordan Shepherd there. He's, in many senses, achieved exactly what he wanted to, but where the key balls ended up is horrible for him. It's tough to see a way out of this. Just wonder if he's got a long double to take on. Might be the only thing he can look at. Oh, that's clever. That is very clever.
That's incredible. The only problem with that shot is it doesn't leave him nicely on his next ball. It's one of those shots I think he was probably thinking that leave the red over the pocket, worst way, I'm going to take control of the frame. Now he's made it, he's put himself under pressure to make a big shot, or a big 2-3 shots now.
There has to be some run out if he manages to do this. That was as intended from Jordan Shepherd. The skill, the combination shot rather, to open things up. And a double away here from potentially having a chance to go and win the second frame. That was brilliant.
Just got into the cue ball a fraction too much. He's still on this red, he's cutting it back. Cue ball looks like it's going into the yellow. It might just slide by. If it slides by, then he's got a problem. If it goes into the yellow, he might just be able to control the cue ball onto the 8 ball in the middle.
It's tough to tell, isn't it? It might just slide by. Oh, it is full ball. Is he blocking the 8 ball? Looks like he is. A wry smile from Jordan Shepherd. He and Clint having very similar problems with their opening breaks. I'm
holding back till I say that he's run into problems, because he's run into problems previously in this frame and he's managed to get out of it, but he's got one more big problem to overcome.
Is it black onto yellow onto yellow? Off the yellow? Oh, unlucky.
I think the problem was he probably couldn't quite see enough of the 8 ball to hit the yellow thick enough. He just catches the yellow a fraction thin. It probably was just about on.
It would have been some finish, that, wouldn't it? Great effort from Jordan Shepherd. But Clint Ianson returns to the table in a very similar manner with which Jordan Shepherd did about 5 minutes ago, and great opportunity now for Clint to square things up and to do exactly what his opposite number did to him. It's a tough game at times, this. Both players did such good work to get their opportunities, and in the end are going to take advantage of the opponent letting them in.
Especially Jordan Shepherd in that chance he just had. He was nowhere for the majority of it, and that's what he's so good at. He's so creative. You feel like you're sat there as an opponent thinking, well, he's put himself into trouble now and I'm going to get an opportunity, and then he comes up with something pretty special.
Looks back on it, Jordan Shepherd. Early stages, I know, but didn't give us his best in the previous competition. And speaking to him afterwards, it was fairly easy to see why, but he seems happier, he seems healthier, he seems in form in nick, the way he's been practicing. It's great to hear, honestly, and hopefully great to witness out on the table tonight.
Completely agree, actually. I think I know we're only a frame and a half in, but we've both spoken to him earlier on. He just seems a much happier person and a lot more focused for tonight.
He'll need to be. Clint Ianson is the sort of player whose B game is as good as most's A. Very seldom drops his level. And there we go. Clint Ianson squares things up. One apiece.
One mistake apiece, both punished by the opponent.
And there is Clint Ianson, 33-year-old from Nottingham, Chilwell to be precise. Those for Nottingham persuasion know exactly where that is. My hometown as well. He is a former IPA #1. He's a multiple IPA Tour champion, as well as a title winner in the Supreme Series, which is played to this rule set in this venue, as well as a two-time doubles world champion. He's at such a high level, Clint, and he's been at that level for a little while now. He's a really, really top player. There's no mistaking that whatsoever. And he's a sort of name that jumps out straight off the page. As soon as you looked at the players entered into this competition, you were thinking, yeah, okay, he's got a real good chance. Great to see him involved, real good chance to do well. And automatically you take a look at the draw and you're like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, oh, it was absolutely, he's been one of the best players around for a little while now. The titles he's won, getting to #1 on the tour, just everything he's done over the last few years. He's so consistent, that's the thing. You very rarely have him see him have those off days. He plays at a high level all the time, and yeah, I was really excited to see him play in this event, and then you see the draw come out and you think, what a way to start this competition. It really is. Because
the way the draw worked, of course, it wasn't the same as the previous competition where we've got pools. These are almost straight matches in the last 64, as it were. They were drawn individually as matches, and then a 4-to-1 format does 2 rounds in one night, as it were. So when Jordan's back in the tournament, he's thinking, right, who have I got first up? He's got Clint Ianson, and the other two perhaps tonight could be forgiven for thinking, oh, that's a pretty good draw, actually. I think both Steve and Jez will be pretty pleased with who they've drawn in the first rounds. Jordan and Clint, however, might be a touch aggrieved.
Yeah, especially when they will have been in a lot of tournaments over the last few years as seeded players, so they would have avoided each other, but also avoided other big names until later in tournaments. Well, the way this tournament's set up, that's not going to happen. You could get a top name first round, as Jordan Shepherd and Clint Ianson both have. Of course, last time we saw Clint Ianson on Free Sports, he was in the Premier League final, just losing out in his hometown in Nottingham to Neil Raybone in what was a fantastic night of pool. But that was one of the first events where we really saw the best out of Clint Ianson on Free Sports. A bit of an anomaly that, for whatever reason, he'd had a bit of a slow run of it on Free Sports.
Yeah, it's a funny little streak, that, wasn't it? And then, go on a tour event at the weekend and go and win it, but couldn't hold the key on Free Sports, it felt like, for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Very strange the way that panned out, but he managed to get over that in the last event in that Premier League, or Jordan's just come up a fraction short on that shot. Just see the cue ball just sort of stopped, and almost like a small kick, maybe just cueing down on it a fraction. Not asking for the cue ball to be clean, so...
He didn't have his natural bridge hand, did he? He was almost bridging
Yeah.
at a right angle, which might have affected that. Some recovery pot. Has he come out nice? I think he may well not have.
Almost the third frame on repeat. This time it's the red ball rather than the 8 ball, but gets deep into a finish and runs into trouble.
This is going to require a really good shot. It's the time to think about it. He's going cushion first. Couldn't pick the line. Great chance here for Clint, and first example of our international 8-ball rules in competition here. For those who are not too familiar, a foul introduces cue ball in hand. There's no two shots carry, any of that. It is cue ball in hand anywhere on the table, and off you go. Clint's got a good chance here. He's got a great chance at the top right in particular, because his one awkward ball is solved immediately by that yellow over the pocket. It then becomes a really simple problem. This should be a really routine finish here for Clint Ianson, and a strange start to this match, really. It's going to be 2-1 to Clint, barring any real fatal errors. And every frame has gone against the grain, as it were. Both players have made great starts in frames, only to throw it up, and it's happened in every frame so far.
Yeah, we're normally talking about who gets the first opportunity in frames, because these players are normally so good at clearing up with that first opportunity. First 3 frames of the first opportunity has been messed up, although they weren't that easy, but you just get so used to these guys clearing up from that first chance. One thing they do know is if they get that deep into a finish and miss, the chance of them coming back to the table is very slim, or at least getting back into the frame is very slim.
Two 2-1 to Clint Ianson. Well, he talks about the draw being a belter. How about this? Next week, just the small matter of John McAllister against Dylan Leary. What a matchup that is, by the way. And also on the same night, Luke Gilbert versus the reigning defending Champions League winner, as on Free Sports a few weeks ago, Chris Melling. And then, if that's not all, the week after that, Phil Harrison's in action, and so too is Mark Farnsworth. It's a ridiculous lineup in this competition.
Every week, it really is. We're going to see big blockbuster names every single week, and yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick out one week that you say I'm looking forward to that one, because I'm looking forward to them all. There is just so many good players in this event.
What a break that is from Sheppy. He's creamed that one. Only thing he's got to be a little bit wary of is his opening shot, really, but he could barely hit the break better.
He'll want yellows here. The red at the bottom left is going to cause a problem if he goes reds, but yellows are okay as long as he can pot one of those two that are welded together in the middle of the table. If he can't, he might have a problem, but it looks like he's getting down on the bottom one of the two comfortably enough. Yeah, no problems. Not the best positional shot he's ever played, but he's still on the next ball. Position onto the next ball isn't certain. Might just drift this back into the middle of the table, into the sort of triangle area, and leave a pot up to the top end of the table from distance. No, he could get across below that black. That's a great shot.
Threaded the needle there, didn't he? Beautifully.
Yeah, I wondered whether he was going to risk that or not. If he catches the 8 ball or the yellow, he could land himself in no man's land again, but played that shot to perfection. Now he is in perfect shape for the first break and dish of the competition. Slight shrug of the shoulders because he's come a roll or two too far. And this time he's a roll or two short. He's still okay. don't think he needs to do too much. Don't try and get perfect on the 8 ball, just give yourself that shot.
I just thought for a minute that the curse of this match was going to strike again and he was going to be snookered on his final ball, the 8 ball, but as it is, he's fine. Jordan Shepherd's to tie things back up. The first break and dish of the match, beautifully done by the Welsh Wizards. It's been some standard so far, Simon. A few rusty shots aside when they've got deep into their breaks, that their actual play at the table has been superb.
Yeah, I think that's 3 mistakes for me in the match, with those 3 first visit chances in the first 3 frames that weren't taken, but they were all positional errors. And that can happen. This table's very responsive, it is very reactive, and I know that all players have had a good practice on there, but it's different when you get out there and get into the match. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to it, and I think both players will see their positional play improve as we go through this match. We saw that with Jordan in the last frame, with that lovely positional shot onto his trickiest ball.
Nice to see the 2 players just exchanging a few words back and forth in the interval. 2 players who will know each other extraordinarily well, having been regularly featured at the back end of tournaments for many years on the same circuit. And the first dry break of the night.
I think Clint actually broke dry in his previous break as well, so far his break isn't quite working.
You're absolutely spot on as ever, our stats guru. Yeah, electing for the cut break, and we've actually seen so far, what we have seen with it is Clint's got the 8 ball moving a lot off the break. Not particularly towards a picket, but it's gone all the way up to the middle and sometimes to the top of the table. It's something to keep an eye on, of course, because golden break is very much back in operation. So too is the golden duck. If you pop the 8 ball off the break, you'll win the frame. If you pop the 8 ball and the cue ball, you will lose it.
And we will see a few throughout this competition. We saw some key ones in the Champions League.
Didn't we just?
That first positional shot from Jordan just nudged a couple of balls awkward. They're solvable, but awkward. There is enough room, I think, to land on the one nearest the right-hand cushion. I think the yellow looks like it's in the way from a main camera, but I think there is a room if he lands nicely on it. And the one in the middle of the table has a couple of pockets, so this is still there for him.
That EXT you see on the scoreboard just means Jordan has taken his extension in this frame. Both players permitted 1. I think the biggest thing that I'm looking out for here, Simon, is if the match goes long, which this one looks like it's got every chance of doing so, and we head into that sort of witching hour, the final 10 minutes, where we're onto a 15-second shot clock. That is a big, big jump down.
Yeah, and it's a bit, and to be honest, it gives, in my opinion, a good advantage to Jordan Shepherd. He's used to playing with extremely short shot clocks in shootout pool. Clint Jansen hasn't played any shootout pool. Okay, he's done well in the Premier League at 30 seconds a shot, but he'll openly admit that he's not going to be comfortable with 15 seconds. I don't think anyone's comfortable, but Jordan's probably as comfortable as anyone possibly can be. So I think from Clint's side of the table, he probably wants to get himself a decent advantage by the time we get to that point. He doesn't want to be chasing the game as we go into that final 10 minutes, if he can help it.
It's a lovely shot from Jordan, but he's got hampered queuing. I think he does have the angle to get onto his final red from this one.
Well, it's awkward. I think if he can't roll through because he's going towards the red and yellow, so he can't just drop it in. And if he has to punch across to the left-hand side of the table, he's only got half the cue ball and has to pick a very small window. So this isn't guaranteed, and you can see the way Clint's looking at the table. He knows it.
Yeah, his interest has peaked, hasn't it? Big shot. Oh, has he blocked the pocket?
That was really awkward. He couldn't even get to enough of the cue ball to punch it across like I thought he might try, and yeah, that's gone wrong. And
the same thing again, isn't it?
Same thing again, yeah.
It's amazing. It's happened in every one but one frame so far. Both players equally culpable. can Jordan do here? Went for the middle pocket, wasn't there. He's not left Clint anything easy though. He's got a little bit lucky there, Jordan. I think he's almost on touching ball with this yellow.
He has got very fortunate, hasn't left a pot on.
I mean, the only pot that I can see is the one at the top of the table, but that is hellishly tricky.
Yeah, it's going to be the safety shot. Just has to judge the cue ball. No, he's judged it well. One of the things, and I think one thing you'd say that Clint has an advantage over Jordan Shepherd in is the fact that his all-round game is fantastic, is as good as anyone in the world. Jordan Shepherd is a lot more aggressive. A lot of people think Clint is an incredibly aggressive player, and he is, but he will play more controlled shots if he needs to.
That's a good hit from Jordan Shepherd, but this should give Clint the opening that he needed.
Again, he's been fairly fortunate. He's moved the 8-ball across to the cushion. These three that near the cue ball now, they're still awkward. They're not nice. They are there for him now to go for. There's no real need or benefit from going for another snooker. Doesn't want that to drop. Not a huge problem that it has dropped, but he'd rather it had stayed on the table, I believe.
Yeah, it would have made that ball on the top cushion a lot easier if it had. But you're right, this is tricky, much trickier than the other sort of reverse counter clearances that we've been able to see so far.
And now we see that ball dropping at the top of the table and see why it's causing him made it slightly trickier. He's now not landed nicely on this yellow down the cushion at the top of the table.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really hard cut. And the positional side of it's not so bad. He probably anywhere in the bottom half of the table, he's going to have a shot into the middle pocket, but tough pot and a shot that if you miss, you'll feel like you're giving the frame away.
He wants to psych himself into it. This is tough.
Overcut it. Overcut it in his turn to be a little bit fortunate.
Right, he has been a little bit fortunate there. He really has.
This still cuts, but the cue ball is going straight into the 8-ball.
Oh, hello. He's back. The Welsh wizard never left. What a shot that is from Jordan Shepherd. And Clint Ianson just has to sit there and take his medicine. Punched into the top corner off the double. An extraordinary shot from Jordan Shepherd, who is right back in the mix. Oh, it's great to see. That
was brilliant. What a shot that is. And I wonder whether he'd take the cut on, but if he takes the cut on, he's going into the 8-ball, and it's a terrible cut. In the end, he's gone all out on the double. If he doesn't make the double, he loses the frame. And we talk about punishing mistakes, and there's one where Clint's got the opportunity there to punish the mistake. A couple of positional shots go against him, and he doesn't make that, doesn't punish the mistake, and all of a sudden he finds himself behind.
It's another big break from Jordan Shepherd. So far his break has been pretty successful. 3 out of 3 now. Consult the stats guru.
My notes say 3. Yeah, he's breaking well. It's one of the things that doesn't get talked about too much with Jordan Shepherd. No one ever talks about Jordan Shepherd's break being poor, and no one talks about it being a big weapon, but he does have a very good break.
What's he looking at here, Simon? This to me looks like a fairly congested and pretty difficult looking table.
Yeah, it's messy on both colour sets, and both colour sets are difficult to solve. 2 yellows on the left-hand side, the ones he's nearest to now, they're a big problem, and I think he was hoping to nudge them open a little bit on that last shot, and if anything, he's nudged them worse. And it's not easy to find an angle on another ball to go into them in a way where he can develop them, so a real problem. I wonder if he can possibly pot the one past the 8-ball and come into it off the top cushion. Looks like he's trying to screw into it now. He's got an angle to screw straight into them. He'd be on the yellow to the right centre, you'd think, worse way.
Shot. Oh, he's got a little unlucky. He's got a little unlucky. That yellow has rolled a quarter roll too far. Because if it hadn't, it's onto the top left, and this frame looks very winnable. This is still now very, very tricky.
Yeah, and the further and deeper he goes into this, the trickier it gets. That was always one that felt like it was odds against coming out well from it. It just didn't look nice. Once again, he's just on the wrong side of it. Went for the precisional shot. And hasn't landed. Still on the one in the centre pocket, so he's considering a double. A double and a move on the one that's welded on the red. Going into that yellow right next to the red isn't guaranteed to nudge that one on either.
This would be some pull out of the hat if he can get this right.
We do talk about chasing a finish a lot, and this really is a chasing a finish. You know, his hardest two balls from the start are still his hardest two balls, and he still hasn't solved them. Okay, he's got a big shot on here that maybe he can get it done. And he has. You can tell with the body language, he's happy. Great shot, and what an effort at the table this is from Jordan Shepherd.
Back to his best. Absolutely no mistake. Jordan Shepherd is back to his best. 4-2. He leads against Clint Jansen. A super start from Shepherd. He leads by 4 frames to 2 against Clint Jansen. We're going to take a short break. You won't miss anything. This match continues when we come back.
This program is brought to you by Apply Mortgages.
Welcome back, live inside the venue here at the Ultimate Pool Masters. Jordan Shepherd, 4-2 in front against Clint Jansen. It has been a belting match so far, both players showcasing exactly what they can do. Any fears that Jordan Shepherd wasn't quite at it following his recent performance in the Champions League pool? Well, they've been well and truly put to bed so far. He's got the first chance in the 7th frame here as well. Clint Jansen's break is not working for him at the moment. His 3rd consecutive dry effort. Jordan Shepherd with the chance now to go 3 frames in front. It's a race to 8 or 0 on the clock, whichever comes first. The pace this match is going, clock may well come into the equation.
Yeah, and I think Clint Jansen's going to have to do something with that break, try and get it to work somehow, because if you keep handing Jordan Shepherd opportunities, it's going to be a very long night for him, or a very short night for him, because Jordan looks to be in the normal Jordan Shepherd mood, rather than, you know, we didn't see him at his best in the last event, but he's put the time and he's put the work in, and he looks a different player here. 2 break dishes already and a really good counter clearance, a couple of really big shots.
It's a funny phrase that, he looks a different player here, but in so many senses, he looks like the same player we're so used to saying, the Jordan Shepherd of old, as it were.
Exactly.
So good to see him back and firing. And Clint will keep on giving him a battle, there's no mistake about that. Jordan will continue to chase these difficult finishes. This is another tough one.
So he's obviously, his problem here is these 2 yellows on the right-hand side. He's had a look to see whether he can play the yellow he's nearest to now. He's going to try and play this one off the yellow that's nearest the opposite centre pocket, which will just try and open up those 3 balls and hopefully ping them open for him. Probably still try and play on the one below the 8-ball as a worse way. That's gone horribly wrong for him. Didn't expect this one to go wrong. I thought he'd make the pot. I didn't know whether they'd nudge open, but I didn't expect him not to make the pot. But you could see there on the replay that he's just come out and caught it a little bit too thin. And from Clint Jansen's side of the table, from where he was sat, is exactly what he needed as a mistake from Jordan Shepherd to get a frame on the board.
tough one, that, isn't it? Because you have to be so incredibly precise playing those shots. There is so little margin for error for contacting the right angle of the object ball to make that complex little plan. If he'd have gone right, it'd have opened up the entire frame for him, but in the end it has gone, as you say, about as wrong as it could have gone. Clint here shouldn't waste any time in putting this frame to bed and get himself back in the mix.
Looks like he's played on a delicate plant at the top of the table. Not perfect. Red's come off the cushion far enough to leave him thin on this one, and not ideal. He may take the red right at the bottom of the table now. Well, he's going to stay with a thin cutback, but watch the cue ball, it'd be running loose. That's a good shot. I'm a little bit surprised he didn't change to take the one at the bottom of the table, because it looked natural just to pop that, and he'd have a choice of either of the reds at the top of the table, but he's played that shot well. And
I don't think he's seen the angle to cannon into the yellow because it looked all too perfect.
yeah, I don't believe he did, but it's worked out for him.
It certainly has.
He's got the angle here where he's going away from the 8-ball, but there's plenty of room around it, so I don't expect him not to land on the 8-ball fairly nicely.
This has been the shot that's tripped him up frequently in this match,
True.
though. He's all right here, though. There'll be absolutely no mistake here. This for 4-3, back within 1. He doesn't miss those.
Another excellent counter clearance from Clint. It was one that you expected him to make once Jordan missed. They were all there, but you've still got to put them away.
Let's take a look at the second quarter of the draw then. This is group 5, 6, 7 and 8. Plenty more top players immediately jumping off the page there. For me, Declan Brennan in group 8 is going to have a great chance of getting through to the semi-finals, such as his quality, likes of Jordan Church, Josh Kane, Dave McNamara's in there as well. It's another great lineup.
It is. We've got most of the players that played in the Champions League are back, but then the ones that have been added in are fantastic players, and there's some great matchups in there. There's some really close matches to call in that section of the draw. It's going to be fascinating to see how that section unfolds.
Do you think it's safe to say, and we'll show you the full tournament as we get through tonight, ladies and gents, don't you worry about that, but do you think it's safe to say, from what we know, Simon, that's the quarter of the draw that you'd want to be in if you wanted to go to the semi-finals? Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think so. I think a good way of putting it might be that I think everybody in that quarter of the draw would probably be happy to be in that quarter of the draw. You know, no disrespect. They wouldn't be showing any disrespect to other players, but you know, it's the quarter of the draw where they'll look at it and fancy the job, if you like.
I think it's the only quarter of the draw without 2 world champions in it as well. I don't think it has one. It is one that the likes of the players who we saw do so well in the Champions League, the likes of Declan Brennan, the likes of Dave McNamara, they all really fancy that.
Yeah, I think they'll be very pleased with the way the draws come out, not just the players in their sections, but also where they fall in the tournament. Let the tournament get underway and unfold a little bit, and then sort of get themselves ready and prepared for it and get going.
I think for Declan Brennan in particular, who'll be a big favourite on that night and is one of the main favourites for the tournament, he'll feel a little bit that he's earned that, because the draw that he had to qualify out the Champions League was absolutely brutal.
Yeah, and you know, his night was cut short, or his tournament was cut short, because of a brilliant performance from one of the greatest to ever play the game. So yeah, you know, you have to take the rough draws and with the good draws. Although I think we've reached a point in these tournaments with the level of players in there. There aren't any good draws. There's just tough draws and really tough draws, isn't there?
Yeah, I think you're right there. Jordan's coming right in the early stages of this break. I think he's tried to play a ridiculous combination shot there. Almost a red onto the cushion into a back double, which would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But alas, It's a tough frame to win for either colour set here. I don't think Clint will be particularly bothered that's held over the pocket. This is Jordan's effort. It'd have been brilliant if it had come off. The imagination to see it was something else.
Difficult to tell from the replay exactly what he was playing, whether he was playing that shot or not. It's a hard one to want to see that one a couple more times to really work that one out, but it didn't work either way. But I think the yellow going over the pocket for Clint is what he was playing, because the clearance is really tough with that yellow at the bottom of the table. But with the skill shot option, you fancy Jordan to have a good chance of clearing these out.
He's liking the long doubles tonight, isn't he?
Yeah, I didn't expect that one from him. I thought he might go a slightly different way, try and maybe thin cut, I don't know, thin cut plant or something. I wasn't entirely sure, but it's not the worst shot for him. He still left Clint Hansen with that problem at the bottom of the table. That yellow right at the bottom is very difficult for Clint to work out, because there's no good ball to land on it nicely.
Yeah, he's got a big problem there. And he's probably not known for his aggression, Clint Hansen, but he's by no stretch of the imagination defensive player. If he thinks he can go for it, he will. And I think he backs himself here. It's a very, very tough clearance, though. I think the only chance he's got, would you say, is to land to the left side on the bottom rail and play the plant and play it delicately enough to leave it where you found it?
I think so, but I think you'd want to get there as early as possible. And
it's not even counting in the yellow glued to the side rail as well. It's a really tricky lie, this.
It is. You have to kind of work out which way you want to solve these problems. It's going to be very difficult the longer he leaves it to get to that area of the table. There's no good ball to land in that bottom left-hand corner of the table to play the plant that we've talked about. He could get there off the one on the rail now. If he wanted to, you can see where the point, he's just pointing the cue to see where the cue ball will be going. But if he plays this plant, then he's going to want the ball that he's playing as a plant to stay over the pocket or clear away from the pocket, rather than, if it half blocks the pocket, it could become a problem. That's not ideal at all. If the yellow goes into the right centre pocket past the 8 ball, then he has a chance. He can still pot this yellow along the bottom cushion. The red going in obviously is not a problem at all. International 8 ball rules, that is a perfectly legal shot.
Extension called from Clint Hansen. Players get one a frame. Just wants to look at this shot. It is tight. And this overhead camera angle, whilst great, does lie to us at times. The only way you can really know is if you're right behind this. It looks tight.
Yeah, from the first thought with the main camera angle, I was thinking, yeah, I think that yellow does go. The overhead's making me think it doesn't. Can never tell from Clint's body language, because sometimes he can make you think it doesn't and then gets down and calmly knocks it in. Right, he's made the decision that it doesn't go because he's just going to play a safety shot.
It's a pretty good one as well.
It's a good one, but it's not going to make it easy for him to win the frame either. That's the problem with the safety there. You've got to stop Jordan from winning the frame. That's the main thing you're trying to do, but it's hard for him to work an opportunity.
Had to get that one right. It's a risky safety, that, because if he gets that wrong by a fraction, it's frame over. But he doesn't even do safeties by halves as Jordan Shepherd. Clint now has to get something right here because all of Jordan's balls are out there in the open.
He doesn't have anything aggressive on here. No pot to go at, nothing even creative. He's got to just try and find a place to put the cue ball safe whilst opening up one of his balls. And he's half done it.
Looks a big pocket at the top of the table, though. Perhaps. Looks less of one off this camera angle versus the main camera.
Again, yeah, the main camera makes it look like it is, and then the overhead makes it look like it isn't. But he'd still have the problem with the red nearest the right-hand side, so I don't think it's a great option. But then there's no great safety option on for him. We may find, or may see Jordan take something on here, whether this is a little delicate drop in the centre pocket. Don't think there's a safety option for him. Good shot. I suspect he's going to take a double on rather than take the one over the top left, because I don't see how he lands better than he is now on the double. He's already made a couple of big doubles.
There's another. There is another. Beautifully done. And this is a big frame to win for Jordan Shepherd, to go 2 in front at this stage, because we will really be throwing caution to the wind in 20 seconds time, because it's about to be the 15-second warning from 10 minutes onwards, which will be from this next frame. The 15-second shot clock comes into play. Jordan Shepherd goes 5-3 up.
Really good from Jordan Shepherd. Weighed it up, no safety shot to go for, so take on that big pot into the centre pocket, and the double that followed. And you know, I think when Clint played the shot he played, he probably knew he was going to be leaving something. He probably was hoping to get the cue ball a little bit closer to the red to stop him having anything, but always a risk he was going to leave him some sort of shot. And unfortunately for him, that Jordan has come up with that big shot, and Clint Jansen is now exactly where he didn't want to be. He did not want to be behind as we go into the 15 seconds a shot in the last 10 minutes of this match. Another dry break for Clint Jansen. That's 4 dry breaks on the trot. His breaks really not helped him tonight at all. Good chance off his first break of the night, and ever since it's gone against him.
Instantly see the pace, the tempo increased from Jordan Shepherd. It has to be. The gap between 45 and 15 is so stark. But I liked what you said earlier, Simon. I thought it was very, very true. If you had to pick anyone to be comfortable at 15 seconds, you'd pick the man at the table right now.
Yeah, you would do that before he won all those shootout titles, but now having won the shootout titles and shown what he can do with this sort of time pressure, absolutely. Just open these up nicely.
Yeah, this is going to be a very quick clearance, isn't it? Right on cue.
Yeah, just going to say the yellow does go to the opposite corner. This is all there for him, and he's worked these out really well. 15 seconds isn't a problem when you work them out like he has here.
He's made that look so easy. There will be plenty of properly good players who will struggle with this 15-second shot clock. And the first one of the tournament, Jordan Shepherd has just made it look so ridiculously easy.
Yeah, punishing that dry break to the max as well with that reverse dish, the first reverse dish of the competition.
We look into the third quarter of the draw. Another fantastic side of the draw. Simon Fitzsimmons jumps out. We've got Lee Kendall in there as well. Rona McCarthy, Emma Cunningham, what a group that is, with Gar Robinson in Group 10. And Ryan Davies, the young snooker prodigy. Aaron Davies, his younger brother, is in the mix as well. Can't wait to see him go. He's got Sean Story in there. Aaron Davies versus Shane Thompson as a first-round affair.
It's incredible, isn't it?
What we're trying to say, ladies and gents, is you're not going to want to be anywhere else on Monday nights for the foreseeable.
Yeah, just book that in. Monday night is pool night.
Jordan Shepherd breaks dry, and here's the chance for Clint Jansen. Causes his extension, and this will be a test for Clint. He's got to play so quick here.
And you can see with Clint's pace around the table, he's not a player that likes to play quickly. He has a sort of tempo that he plays at. It's not slow, but it's certainly not quick. So he's going to have to play outside of his normal pace, his normal comfort zone.
Well, that's the phrase, isn't it? It is taking him out of his comfort zone. And you can tell it's forcing him to think so much more than it was before. Jordan Shepherd could play at a 15-second shot clock every match if he wanted to. You can see he feels that comfort. He's not afraid to line things up. Plays with that beeping noise in the background, makes his cannon, just makes it look so easy. And it's really not. That you saw it in the last visit to the table from one of the best to do it, Clint Jansen, looked immediately uncomfortable.
Well, that one's gone wrong. I think the red still goes through the gap past the gap of the yellows to the top right, but that little nudge has just knocked another red at the top of the table awkward. I'm not sure the other red at the top of the table goes either. So he's trying to pot that off the yellow, but in truth he's happy with it just going over the pocket and being a safety shot. When you've got that 6-3 lead in this situation, you're happy to drag it out in a frame like this. It's going to make Clint Jansen chase a finish.
He needs it to. 6 minutes on the watch with a bit of change. It's not a foul in international 8-ball rules. That's a positional move from Clint. So 6 minutes and change remaining on a 15-second shot clock. Jordan Shepherd 2 frames away, Clint Jansen 3 frames behind. Just going to have to constantly watch that clock and that scoreboard through the next 6 minutes, because the state of this match will change continuously. The swingometer will go back and forth. It's a good shot from Clint. Has he got the opening here to go and win the frame?
Doesn't look like he can quite play the shot he wants to, which was to play the one next to the red, to play the plant and really go for it. He played that in such a way that I thought he may be just taking the pocket, but I felt like there must be an advantage to him trying to take that pot onto the bottom right corner and still going game. Not exactly as played for Jordan Shepherd, but it's still a good result for him.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. Has Clint got the angle? Yes, what a shot. Has that come out nicely at the top of the table? I think it has. It's a brilliant shot from Clint Jansen.
Had to create that angle. That angle wasn't there, and it was an excellent shot to do so.
Framey pretty much had to win, really. He has scraped over the finish line. It's 6-4, 4.5 left. It's going down to the wire.
It's going down to the wire, it certainly is. But we've seen it 4.5 minutes because it's a 50-minute match. 4.5 minutes feels like there's not enough time for him to get back into this. But we've been watching in the Champions League that 4.5 minutes is enough time to win the 2 frames he needs to at least take this to a 6-red shootout. So it's not all lost here for Clint Jansen, but one thing we do know is he needs his break to turn up. He cannot afford to have another dry break. He needs an opportunity of this next chance. He needs it to be a good one.
Yeah, it really does. And the thing is when he's got that in the back of his mind, he's constantly thinking about so many different things he's not used to thinking about. You know, he's got the shot clock in the back of his mind. He's got the time pressure, the match clock in the back of his mind. He's got the fact that he wants to win the game in the back of his mind. 8-ball was tracking towards that far corner. It might have even been on track. Let's have a watch of this. I think this was close.
Cue ball was close as well.
Jordan in with a chance here. And if you want one away, you would make him massive favourite. This frame really is the swing frame, isn't it? If you're Clint Jansen, you can't lose it.
These reds are there as well. They all have a pocket. Needs a couple of really good positional shots, especially at the bottom end of the table, just to make sure and get the job done. But they're all there for him. It's not the perfect angle, I don't think, to come down. Maybe it is straight enough to come down onto the red at the bottom. Oh, he's mishit that. You can see straight away the big sigh from Jordan. He's not really on either ball well. If he cuts the red that's in the triangle area into the bottom right, then cue ball is going towards the yellows, not guaranteed to land on the red. He can't see the other one enough to pot it, so just trying to let the clock kill enough time, or as much time as possible.
Oh, that's some shot. I think that's come out pretty nice. He's made that look a lot easier than it was. He did a lot of control there. Jordan Shepherd weighted that to perfection. For one away. Jordan Shepherd is almost there. 7-4 to the Welsh Wizards. 2.5 minutes remaining. And he has the break.
Very impressive. Very impressive indeed. Probably one of the more impressive finishes he's had so far. A couple of good shots early to open it up, and then even when he lost control, he was able to come back with an excellent pot and a very delicate little nudge as well. There's still time, but you can see with how relaxed Jordan is as he waits to break off that job is almost done for him. He'll be thinking one more big break and another break dish.
Well, here's your chance, Clint. If it is to happen, it's got to happen now. He's not quite dead just yet. Stride break for Jordan. A chance for Clint Heinsohn. The merest glimmer of hope.
If that red passes the yellow, then the chance for the clearance here is on, and it must go.
The thing is that in this frame, if Clint really is to have any chance of doing it, he's got to be flying here, hasn't he? Just wonder if he's given it up a little bit here in terms of the potential to try and square this match up. Or maybe if he feels this is the quickest he can play without missing.
I think that probably is the case, actually. I think this is, this is him going, as quick as he would risk.
It's going to be a quick clearance. Probably the second quickest in the match. 1:14 left. Clint Heinsohn needs 2 more to force a shootout.
Not sure how long that was, but just over a minute, somewhere along those lines. And he still needs 2. I think without a golden break here, you can't see it happening for him. An interesting thought. Clint played it at his normal pace at the start of the match, which used up quite a lot of the clock, whereas Jordan was his normal, very quick self. And I just wonder whether, looking back, Clint might think, maybe I should play a little bit quicker in the early part of the match to try and, if it was a race to 8 here and the clock wasn't a factor, he might still feel like he's got a great chance.
Meter ball, get to ball. Has he got a shout? Reds look there. I tell you what, Reds look very there. This might not be over just yet for Clint Heinsohn. It's still massively odds against because Jordan Shepherd does have the next break. But he just needs to give himself a chance here.
I think he's on the red to the top left.
Needs it done in 30 seconds. Or with 30 seconds left, I should say, and that will just about give him a glimmer. As it stands, he's probably going to be hoping for a golden duck to give him a shot. But this is some finish from Clint Heinsohn. Just start to wonder, has he left it too little, too late? 7-6, 19 seconds remaining. What's the tagline of Shootout pool, Simon? Every second counts.
It does, and there's an interesting, this brings up an interesting point as well, that there's been a slight change to the rules as well for this event, and that is that the clock does not restart until the breaker hits the shot. So in the previous event, Jordan could have used up almost the full 15 seconds and left Clint 4, whereas now the clock won't start until he hits the break. So Clint may have 15 seconds, although that I don't think anyone could clear up in 15 seconds. We probably need a golden duck here.
And Jordan Shepherd breaks legally, breaks fairly, and says that will do it. Shake of the hands, and that ends the match. It ices the game. Jordan Shepherd is all good. Plays his shot, he is all done. Bit of confusion out there in the arena, but that will do it. Jordan Shepherd is into the next round, and he will be in tonight's final against either Jez Graham or Steve Singh. A fantastic performance from Jordan Shepherd. What a brilliant win for him against a really, really top opponent, Simon.
Yeah, coming into this event, knowing how he played in the previous event, he would have looked at that draw and thought, oh, I could have done with something to ease into this tournament. But, you know, he was up against it from the start, but he's put the time in. You can tell that he's put the time in, and he played a brilliant match there. He got the chances that Clint didn't get. Clint was breaking dry more often than not and giving those chances to Jordan, but he took them. He had more finishes from the break than Clint did in the match. He punished the mistakes more than Clint did in the match, and there was a massive moment, I think, at 3-2 to Jordan, where Jordan didn't make the clearance when he went for it, and that's the one time that Clint didn't manage to counter clear, and instead it went 4-2 rather than 3-3, and from there he was never able to get back in it.
Yeah, and despite those rapid clearances towards the end, it was too little, too late for Clint Jansen. He exits the competition at round number 1. Jordan Shepherd advances through. Who will he face in tonight's final to get through to the last 16? We're about to find out. Do stay with us.
This program is brought to you by Apply Mortgages.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Pool Masters here on Free Sports. What a first gambit of the tournament we've just witnessed as Jordan Shepherd got the edge over Clint Jansen. He's still got to find an opponent, though, for tonight's final. And this is a great matchup between two really evenly matched players in Steve Singh and Jez Graham. Si, both these two, we spoke about them at the start of the show, that have both been happy with their draw to have avoided Clint and Jordan in their first match tonight. What an opportunity for these two to showcase what they can do and get themselves a big fish in the second round.
Absolutely, yeah. Both of these players, or neither of these players, played in the previous events. This is going to be the first time here on Free Sports, and yeah, absolutely a great opportunity for them to sort of get going. They'll be happy with their draw, and they can go out there and just like play some good pool here, get underway, and then worry about the next match as and when it comes. But both Steve and Jez can really play, and you know, there's no doubt the winner of this match could go on and cause Jordan a scare in the final.
Yeah, it was lovely chatting to these two actually before the night got going tonight, both of them, and not wanting to sound disrespectful, delighted to be here. Really looking forward to the opportunity, seeing that for what it is, as a chance to showcase their skills at the top table of pool. You look at the names that are in this competition, they are delighted to be among them. Now's their chance to show us what they can do, and they were both so excited for that opportunity. And it won't come as a shock to quite a few that both these lads can really, really play.
They really can. I think Steve can still see this yellow to the top right corner. It's very tight past the 8 ball. If he can't, then he's got a slight problem, but I think he can just about. He's still got the problem with the yellow on the right-hand side, so they haven't really opened up as he wanted to from that previous shot. Might not be the right thing to keep going, but I think he is still taking this on, cutting it in, trying to develop the bad ball.
Shot. What a good shot that is. That's a brilliant shot from Steve Singh. It's a tough one. The pot was tough. The development's gone well. Those 3 balls are all a little bit in each other's way, really, at the top of the table. That will change a little bit here. Would have had an angle to pop the one down the right, but this is more important now to clear.
It feels a bit awkward there. I don't know if that yellow in the middle of the table goes to the top left. I don't think it does. So he's overhit that positional shot by 6 to 12 inches. Can still get back to it. It's just past the middle of the table, just somewhere just past where his hand is now is perfect. Yeah, that's not bad. He's on that line. You can see the yellow to the top right. So that's an excellent recovery shot, and he's back into perfect position. And this is 3 drop-ins now. He's worked very hard to get into this position.
Yeah, let's not talk these in just yet, hey, and get over the line. But this has been super so far from Steve Singh. This was not an easy clearance. And so far, it looks like Steve's about to get there. Steve Singh gets the job done. Fantastic start. That was a difficult clearance, and he made it look, at times very difficult, but at times he made it look very, very easy. Great start for the man from Peterborough. He's a World Senior Masters champ and won 2 out of 4 events on the Senior Tour in 2019, represented India on multiple occasions at international level. My favourite thing about that stat profile, though, Simon, is his cue. Unknown. He knows it's an 8mm tip, but he's been playing with it for so long. The brand of the cue has been very much marked off, and he can't actually remember it was that long ago that he bought it, what brand it was.
Incredible, isn't it? Great story. I like that.
Old Faithful.
Absolutely. He's a player that has a bit more of a background in 9-ball.
Yeah, I believe he's represented India at both 8-ball and 9-ball international competitions as well. Something he's very proud of, and rightly so. Jez Graham, first look at him. It's a picture-perfect break, but not a ball down. And that will be tough to take for Jez, because he could barely have connected with them better. Look at the split, cue ball straight down the line, back up the table. And Steve has let him off the hook. He has let him off the hook big time.
Delicate shot. There isn't much room to get this yellow in past the other yellow. He played it in such a way, I wonder whether he was actually trying to play it off the yellow and just caught too much of it. He was trying to catch it a fraction thinner. Either way, it's opened things up or given Jez his first chance in this match. And the yellows are still all there for him. I think that yellow does go to the top right.
Little part of me, I must say, feels like after that break he deserved the first chance in this frame.
It was an excellent break, wasn't it? Really got through them well, spread them. Got such a nice even spread of the balls as well.
A player from your neck of the woods, isn't he? So southwest sort of way.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, he is from the southwest. He's from Plymouth, and I'm a bit, probably 2-3 hour drive away. But yeah, he is from the southwest.
Same for me.
Yes, I was thinking, that's exactly what I was thinking. I used to play county pool. It was always the trip that we didn't want, the one all the way down to Plymouth, the long journey. Played against Jez a few times in that format. Fantastic player. Very much a shot maker. I always feel like he's capable of clearing up from awkward positions, making something happen when it's not quite there, but in this layout, they very much are there. He's on the cushion, but it's not a huge amount of problems. Just has to top through. Doesn't have to do too much with the cue ball. He's been in perfect position the whole way through, hasn't he? Not put a step wrong. Even when he put a cue ball on the cushion, that was pretty much where he was trying to get to anyway.
It's been a great start from both gentlemen, I have to say. Been really impressed with both. Jez in and amongst it. And he squares things up at one apiece. Perfect start from Jez Graham. And here he is, the man from Plymouth. He is a World Championship doubles runner-up, as well as a multiple Southwest Tour winner. Former IPA top 20 as well. He's got a little bit of reputation behind him as Jez Graham, but hasn't been playing in those events as a lot of players haven't in the last year, especially, to sort of know exactly where he's at right now.
Spoke to him earlier. He's barely touched his cue for over a year now, and it's going to be would say it's going to be interesting to see how he performs. But if you haven't touched your cue for nearly a year and he comes out with a lovely little counter clearance like that in your first touch of the table, he looks to be in pretty sharp form. Sometimes it's nice to have a break, but yeah, I think the thing he was worried about wasn't necessarily trying to find the sort of form on the table. It was more about the sort of, when things get tight towards back end of matches, when you've got to grab a match by the scruff of the neck. Have you got the sort of, the belief, the match sharpness to sort of grab it and take it at that moment?
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that. That's almost exactly what he said to me earlier when I said, "How are you feeling?" He said, I've been practicing quite well actually in the last couple of days. Been able to get a few hours in. I suppose the one thing I can't test is how much bostle I've got.
Yeah.
And he was quite upfront about it. And I said, well, this will be one way to do it.
Well, back when the world was normal, or the pool world was normal, it was he had plenty of bottles, so I don't expect him to have too much of a problem if it does get tight towards the end. He normally sees the winning line and runs at it.
That's a poor shot though from Jez. It's barely looked like missing a beat so far at the table, but this is one that he'll want back pretty quickly.
Probably had half an eye on that cannon rather than the pot. I thought the pot was pretty simple. Steve would rather be on one of these three reds at the top of the table to get into this visit a bit easier, but he can't, so has to go down the table. And excellent shot.
Yeah, it's a sledgehammer of a break from Steve Singh, wasn't it? But wasn't rewarded with a ball. And he might feel, just as Jez might have done in the last frame, that he was due an opportunity. He's got one now, make no mistake. Good chance.
Three reds at the top of the table aren't a big problem. You just take them in the right order. The one nearest the rail does go. He just couldn't pot it from where he was before.
Oh, that's not nice.
Very surprised at that shot. I wasn't sure he needed to get anywhere near as close to those balls as he has tried to. Could have just dropped that one in the centre and stayed on the one on the nearest the right-hand side cushion, and it would have all unfolded from there. If he can see the red nearest the pocket through the gap of the other two reds, then he's been very fortunate. Looks a little bit too tight to me.
Getting the rest out. Let's see what he's got. It's surely got to be a safety.
Yeah, it's got to be, but he's got a great safety option. If he can just avoid leaving that red, yellow at the top, it's almost impossible to get out of. I think he has. I don't know if he can see that yellow.
This is really tough to judge. I think he's probably got a one cushion into the middle of the table. Can he? He's having a good look at this, is Jez.
It's not that difficult to get. I thought this could be almost impossible, but he hasn't quite got behind the red he would have loved to, which is the one, the cue ball, the bottom of the three that are together. So there is a route out, even if he can't see the one nearest the pocket.
I think he fancies this. Couldn't quite find the angle.
Yeah, but the fact that he missed that thick, he could definitely see enough of this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, if he misses that thin, then you question it, but he misses it thick. I think he could definitely, well, he absolutely could see the potting angle, so that's a poor mistake from Jez. Sometimes you can sort of almost fool yourself and you think you need to hit it as thick as possible, and you end up catching it just slightly too thick.
And one thing I've noticed so far with Steve is he's had some great shots, but quite often he's had to become that shot maker purely because he's not had that cue ball control as tight as he would like. It's another example of it here. Has he got the legs? No.
Mistakes creeping up for Steve. A couple of good chances, and really good chances to win this frame, and not taken either of them. And Jez back in at the table. I'm not sure. The yellow next to the red goes at the bottom of the table, and the clearance is there, but I wonder whether it does because he's not looked at it. Maybe he's trying to clip this one back in the centre. So very fortunate for Steve not to leave something on there.
It's not the greatest safety from Jez either, because I think Steve can double this one across the bottom of the table straight off the rip. And he might have an option to play to the top of the table too. Might have an angle top right. Might even be able to cut this. He can.
Could.
Oh, it's a bad lead from Jez, I have to say. Again, that cue ball control from Steve, not on a string, far from it. And it is tripping him up, forcing him to work hard. He's been up to the challenge the vast majority of the time, but he'd rather he didn't have to be. It's another great recovery shot.
That's brilliant. That really is.
Such a good shot. Shouldn't have had to be that good in so many ways, but that is a stunning recovery shot from Steve Singh.
Choosing to leave the 8-ball from distance, not worth risking going and playing around with those yellows. Didn't have the great angle to bring the cue ball down the table without doing so, so back himself to make this one from distance. And there it goes, no mistakes. A couple of opportunities that time for Steve Singh, but he does manage to get over line and get back in front. 2-1 this time. Jez will be annoyed because he didn't punish the mistakes that Steve made. Okay, it was only a safety error this time, but it was one that he'll be annoyed that he didn't get right.
This is the third quarter of the draw in the Ultimate Pool Masters. This is the other side of it. Simon Fitzsimmons, Lee Kendall, Gav Robinson, Ronan McCarthy, Emma Cunningham. That's a group of death if ever there was one. Really excited to see the young starlet Ryan Davies in action, and then the week later his older brother's in town to show him how to do it.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see those matches unfold and potentially play each other at some point. Well, that's not a good break from Jez.
Yeah, that's a horrible one. No excuse for it as well. Screws straight back into the top corner pocket. That is when you know, and that is user error. Not to be for Jez, and Steve in with a second chance here. Cue ball in hand, he can go anywhere on the table. It's a good split this of both colour sets. Just has to do his thinking time now. Be wise to call an extension, I'd wager. Red's is the choice.
Once again, it's the cue ball, isn't it? It's just not quite nudged to open as much as he wanted to. Wanted a much fuller contact on that red, and looks like he's nudged it awkward. It may still go through the gap, but it'll be a little bit fortunate if it does. The way he's played that one tells me this red does go through the gap. So when he tried to develop, when he was trying to develop this one, he got very fortunate catching it that thin and still nudging it on.
Couldn't have hit it better.
That's worked out nicely. On the right to the centre pocket, got an angle where he can get the cue ball back into the centre of the table. Looked like he changed his mind last minute there. Looked like he was going for the one cushion, in the end played two and landed perfectly with that little nudge on the yellow. This frame should be plain sailing from here.
Just has to be, doesn't it, at this stage? He's played well so far, Steve Singh, he really has. He has made things difficult for himself a few times, make no mistake, but he's played some beautiful shots by that same token as well.
Yeah, put himself in a couple of awkward spots, but has managed to get himself out of it. The mistakes he has made, he hasn't been punished to the max. Well, that 8-ball completes the reverse dish to go with a breaking dish he had in the opening frame of the match, and he takes a 3-1 lead. Now, Stephen Jameson's just popped out of the commentary box to go and get a few words with Jordan Shepherd.
Yeah, I certainly have. And Jordan, it's great to see you back, first of all, and great to see you back playing well too. It's a really good performance out of you. How pleased were you with it?
Yeah, really pleased. Clint's break was a bit cruel, really. Not that I felt sorry for him, but like, yeah, you get put in them spots so many times when the break just it doesn't give you a chance to win the match. I think the double was massive at 2-2. Got myself, and then I got another big double the frame after to like open up the cushion, and I think that kind of like done enough, I think, to put me in enough control, you know.
And towards the end of the match, it really felt like your expertise and your familiarity with how the shot clock works in these events and playing quickly really played into your hands, because we saw Clint able to rattle off a few frames off quickly, but giving himself too much to do. Did you feel that was an advantage coming into this one?
Yeah, obviously, if you can work the I probably didn't work it well enough, but yeah, I think I was two or three up with 4 minutes left or something. I think this leaves you a bit too much work to do, but he had to go. It was obviously. I had visions of the black and the white going in or something, and but yeah, just done enough in the end, and pretty happy the way I played. Yeah.
And how pleased are you to get back into the tournament with a win off the rip as well? Because when you must have seen the draw, you must have thought, oh crikey, that's some start to go up against Clint right off the.
Yeah,
right off
that
the
was
rip.
one of the worst draws, probably in the whole thing. He's definitely one of the favourites or was one of the favourites to win the events. Because of he knows the rules very well. Obviously, one of the frames I had to pull out a big finish because I thought I had him, and then he played a good shot and got me in trouble. So that was I wasn't really sure what to do on that shot, but luckily it worked out. Another day could go wrong, and he wins the frame, and then it's a different game.
Well, you're through to the next rounds. Your final will come up later on against either Steve or Jez. What are your thoughts on both those lads? Have you had much experience with either before?
Yeah, I've known Jez for years, but never. I didn't know who Steve was until today. But yeah, really, obviously, they're both really nice guys, and best of luck to him. I think Steve's a few frames up. So good luck to him. Whoever wins, obviously, I hope I beat him.
Well, congratulations on the performance earlier, George. Best luck for later.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Back to you.
Great to hear the thoughts of Jordan, who did put in a fantastic performance, and great to see him back to form in this event. Excellent performance. Got the opportunities, as he said, down to the ways the breaks panned out for Clint Jansen, but you've got to take the most of them when they come along, and he certainly did that. Well, back to the match we're on now, and there was another positional error from Steve Singh that left himself awkward. This time a little bit unfortunate, has to be said. And he's turned the table over to Jez Graham. Lovely shot, not just the double, which you expect him to make, but the positional shot to come around that red was perfect. All the yellows now have a pocket. Well, he still chose to play the developing shot. Didn't need to move that yellow, but it's worked out okay. Slightly awkward, but controllable cut back to the middle. Could go up to the corner if he wanted to. Great to see Jordan in good spirits after his victory, Stephen. I do like listening to some of the things he's got to say. You know, best of luck to these guys, but when he plays them in the final, I hope they lose. I love to hear that.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest thing for me is it's just so nice to see Jordan smiling again. He wasn't in a good headspace the last time we saw him in the Champions League, and he's pretty forthright with us about that. But seems to be happier, seems to be enjoying his pool again. It's such a big factor, it really is. I think the sort of light at the end of the tunnel in terms of lockdown and the pandemic is starting to emerge, and I think for a lot of people it definitely won't just be him. It's starting to feel that as well. Sun's in the air as well, temperatures rising, there is that feeling of hope in the air, and I think everyone who felt it over the last week has just felt that little degree happier. I know you have, because the golf course has been open again.
Yeah, 100%. But I think everyone goes through spells where it really gets to them, as that positional shot just gets away from Jez. Wanted to, I don't know if he was playing for it in the centre or he was playing for it in the corner, but he's either hit it too thin or too thick and finished a bit halfway between. He should still make this, but it's trickier than he wanted it to be.
Yeah, good pot. White's okay too. Good recovery from Jez Graham, 3-2. But yeah, just returning back to that point, it's something that we haven't really spoken about too much, because for the vast majority of the time it hasn't been that factor. But with Jordan, we know it was, and with the way that he's played tonight, just so pleased to see him back in full flow, because when he is at it, there's few players on the planet that I would rather watch more.
Yeah, and I think for me, I said this when he played and had that disappointing day in the last event, that he's a player that has to put the time in. He feels rusty if he doesn't put the time in, but he came in here, we spoke to him, and he's come in and he's put the time in, and he feels sharp, he feels confident, and he felt ready to go. So it wasn't just how he was feeling mentally, it was also the fact that he was confident with how he was playing on the table, and that certainly showed with the way he played.
Yeah, didn't it just?
It
mentioned that champagne double that he hit, and I think that was the moment for me where I was like, oh yeah, he's back.
And those are the moments, the key moments that can swing a match. If he doesn't make that double, he loses the frame. All of a sudden, it's tighter than it ended up. But he wins those key moments.
Well, he'll be back in action later on. Don't you worry about that, ladies and gents. He'll face off against one of these two for a place in the last 16, and Jez with a chance to square things up here if he can get it back to 3-all. It's a great break in some senses, a frustrating one in others. He hit it beautifully, but that top of the table is a problem for both colour sets, really.
He really wants to be yellows, doesn't have a good yellow to go at. He wants to be yellows not because he thinks the clearance is there, but yellows are the more control of the frame. And he misses the yellow.
Steve is a bit of a sage guy around the table, but he's it's the polar opposite of his persona when he's not at the table. Very affable, very Very light-hearted and easy to get along with. He's having a good laugh with us about his attire earlier on. Mentioned that he had to go down the local supermarket to get himself a belt because he's not worn proper trousers in a year. Well, I feel that.
Yeah.
He said he was just pleased that the trousers still fit. Don't worry, we feel that too, Steve. It's been great to see the likes of Steve and Jez back, we've not seen back in the Champions League. Great opportunity for so many players, 64, remember, in this competition. Let's see a combination shot here. White onto yellow, onto red, onto yellow. That was a plan, but it's not gone right, and if it had, you can see how well the frame would have opened up for him.
Yeah, he almost has to catch the red nearest the yellow rather than the one just a little bit too far away from it. I don't know whether that shot was quite on as easily with that one, but either way it's gone wrong. Chance here for Jez, just one problem ball, but that problem ball's a real big problem.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's enough room to land on that red at the bottom of the table. It's the first thing that Jez did when he came to the table was to look at that red to see whether it went or not. Now, it's difficult for us to tell from this camera angle. If it doesn't, then he's got a problem. It obviously doesn't because he tried to move it.
Oh, well.
What a disaster.
Well, that is a tough one to take for Jez Graham. Tough one to take. 8 ball in, end of frame. Jez Graham 4-2 down. Steve Singh now with a great chance here, Simon, to extend his lead after the break here in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Jez, you know, he hasn't punished the mistakes that Steve's made, and you know, he finds himself behind because of it.
Yeah, big moment then for Steve Singh and for Jez Graham. He's got to find a way to recover from that. He'll have a few moments now before we come back to the second half of this one.
This program is brought to you by Apply Mortgages.
Welcome back to the Masters here in Newcastle under Lyme here on Free Sports. 4-2, the current lead for Steve Singh against Jez Graham. Both of these two fellows looking to book their place in tonight's final in round 2 of the tournament proper against Jordan Shepherd. The winner of that match will advance through to the last 16 of the Ultimate Pool Masters. Stephen Jameson, Simon Webb still with you here, talking you through all the action tonight. There has been plenty of it. Already seen a brilliant match between Jordan Shepherd and Clint as one of the tournament's early favourites had to go at the first hurdle. And sadly for Clint, it was the man from Nottingham. Welsh Wizard still in the mix. So too is Steve Singh as that yellow drops into the right middle. He's got the first chance in this 7th frame.
You feel this is a big frame, don't you? I think the opening up a 3-frame gap could be quite huge. You felt like things are just going Steve's way at the moment. Obviously, things are going poorly for Jez with putting that black in the middle of the frame or the previous frame. But when a couple of positional errors that Steve's made, he's able to either recover or Jez hasn't punished him for it. So if he can get this frame on the board, get that 3-frame gap, you'll start to see that finish line, and it'll be hard work for Jez. He's not quite sure if he can get through to this one over the pocket. I think he thought he could and then got down on it, and yeah, he's changing his mind. This may just be a safety effort, try and take the pocket rather than a full-blown go for it shot. Hasn't quite taken the pocket, but half blocked at least one of the yellows at the top of the table, and things are still awkward here for Jez Graham.
Yeah, this isn't easy at all. A bit of a complicated lie, this.
Jez is just wondering whether he can squeeze this off the jaw and off the red, the one he's next to. From the overhead, it looks like it's just about on, but it's awkward when you're this close to pick the right angle.
Shot.
As I said at the sort of top of this match, he really is a big shot maker.
This is a great shot, this, from Jez Graham. Yeah, I've been of that. Quality. And he'll need a little bit more of that. He got a... I was about to say he got a big slice of bad luck, but was it a bad luck or a bad shot or a little bit of both with going off, or sorry, rather, potting the 8-ball at the end of the last frame?
It wasn't a poor shot, but he missed his position that he was trying to get. So the cannon he was trying to get, he missed by, you know, an inch or two. But you could go into that 100 times and you're going to pot the 8-ball once. So you have to say he's unfortunate.
This stage though, this is looking pretty kind for Jez. 23 minutes and 50 seconds remain. 2 frames down, so there's loads of time left in this match. Good 13 minutes and change away from introducing that 15-second shot clock, which really will throw the cat amongst the pigeons. But you can see both players really utilising the 45 seconds here, making sure. One thing we didn't see anywhere near as much in the Champions League was the chance to have that second look. Didn't have the time for that.
Yeah, you've got to go. You've just got to see it and go, and you've got to use all the time that's available as well. That 15 seconds starts when the ball stopped moving, so you've got to kind of almost be ready and analysing it at all times. Even if you're sat in your chair waiting to come to the table, you need to sort of have in mind what you might do if you get the opportunity.
Big shot in the frame, this. It's not there. He thought it was.
Difficult for Jez. Didn't think there may have been a better order out there for him. Difficult to work that one out. It was obvious to try and leave the yellow on the cushion as his last ball, but you needed to try and finish above it, and that was difficult to get there from the lay of the table that he had. At least he's blocked the pocket at the top of the table.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Not made this easy. Steve's gone straight after it. It's not a terrible result. He wanted to pot that yellow, make no mistake, but actually having landed on that red anyway, he's still pretty much where he wanted to be. Has to be his next ball now, though. And then he's got 4 more to find a pocket.
Perfect angle as well to get back out and into a... Well, I thought it was the perfect angle to get onto the next ball, but he's just dropped it in. I thought he had enough angle to get nearer the break line.
He's never shied away from a big pot so far in this match as Steve. Let's see why.
Not ideal. I think ideally you'd like to leave yourself fairly straight on the one nearest the cushion in the bottom half of the table. If you're not on that one, then you need a good angle on the next one.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, Steve. That has gone all kinds of wrong.
Disaster, wasn't it? Absolute disaster. Didn't expect him to miss the pot. I think he was probably half an eye on the cue ball. And he got the cue ball wrong as well. Just what Jez needed. Staring 3 frames down in the face, and all of a sudden he's been handed a lifeline.
Yeah, it always felt like a big frame to win this one. Oh, Steve can't believe it. He is fuming with himself. Three drop-ins for Jez. And he's home and hosed. 4-3, back in the game.
It could well be a big moment that we're looking back on at the end of this match. Felt like he was about to go 5-2.
Well, we've seen our first 3 quarters of the draw. This is the final one, and this could well be my favourite. There are some big names in this one. Neil Raybone we'll see in Group 13. We've got a couple of international stars as well. In Omar Munshiz, he takes on Carl Boys in round 1. Scott Gillespie, John Rowe is a hell of a first-round tie. And how about Michael Hill versus Sean Chipperfield? Would pay cash money for that game.
It's some lineup. It really is. It's some incredible players and incredible matchups in that first round. And yeah, well, we're going to be saying it every single week, so it really is.
Yeah, can't wait for it to go deep in this competition. It will just only continue to get better and better. And good to see some international competition as well, the likes of Omar Munshiz, and we've got a Maltese player in there, another Moroccan too. It's just starting to get there, isn't it? I'm not just talking about pool here, I'm talking about generally. It just feels like we're just starting to threaten to return to normal. By the time those guys will be in action, we'll be deep into the summer. You know, talking June, July, until those lads are getting the chance to play. As Jez agonisingly watches that yellow go in. But great to see, and can't wait to see those boys play. It's been a little while since they've been on these shores.
The passion for the sport in Morocco is incredible. I've been out there myself, and to see it really is incredible. So to see a couple of the guys come over and play in this event's fantastic.
Yeah, Michael Hill, Sean Chipperfield. Oh, that is... I mean, there's bad draws, and there's that.
Yeah, it's right up there. There's 2 or 3 in this first round. That's right up there for me.
Clint and Jordan Shepherd was the other one really that jumped out for me, that first round match. But Hill Chipperfield is a horrible one, because from a neutral point of view, you sort of look at both those guys as really potential winners of this tournament. You know, they're probably in the top 5 or 6 players. You think, yeah, they've got a real run at this, and they go to match each other up first round, not even have a game beforehand. It's horrific luck, isn't it? Yeah, but it makes for great entertainment for us. I mean, not complaining.
Yeah, no easing into the tournament. You are straight under it from ball 1.
Yeah, I think for Sean's sake in that one, at least by the time that match will come around, he'll have hoped to have got himself back at the table and probably maybe even playing in a few local tournaments and stuff by the time that one rolls around.
I suspect they will be by that point, but we just don't know the way things are at the moment. You know, plans change all the time. If things don't change, then I think the plans are for there to be a few more tournaments opened up by that point.
Because we saw in the last competition we had here, the Champions League, that Michael Hill's back at it. The final him and Chris Melling put on was one of the best matches I've seen in a very, very long time, if not the. It was stunning. I think it was about 3 missed pots in about an hour's worth of pool. It was sublime, and that's not including all the wonderful work they did with the pots they did make. It was just a clinic, wasn't it? Between 2 of the best to have ever picked up a cue.
Yeah, 2 of the best to ever play the game, taking on each other, and it was just big hit after big hit. Just running into problems here. Played the double, not worked out.
Good chances for Steve, really good chance. Yellow's just gone a little bit safe, and Jez just surveying the table before he takes his seat, and he might just be a little bit eased and calmed by the way that Yellow's glued itself to the cushion, because this finish is far from easy. He might have the angles to go into them now, Steve Singh. He does, but didn't make the pots. He's just starting to get a little bit jumpy, I think, is Steve Singh. A couple of bad misses from him now.
You could see in the last frame, after he made the mistake, he sort of hung his head in his chair, trying not to react, but the reaction was there. You could see the frustration. You know, and next opportunity, next time he comes to the table, he misses that pot. So you know, let's keep an eye on that and see if that builds into his next shot.
Oh, that's a really good shot from Jez. Brave shot as well. Almost had a bit of a bounce out.
I think he held his hand up, so it tells me he didn't quite play it the way it's come out, but he'll be happy.
I think Steve guilty of playing the cannon there and just taking his eye off the pot, which has let Jez in. This is about to go down to the wire, I think. It's going to be 4-4 with over 15 minutes left. Long way to go. Jez has battled his way back into this game. He's tied it with plenty of time to work with. A race to 8, remember. Or whoever's leading the way come 0 on the watch.
I feel like both players at the moment are just struggling to fully control their game out there. They're both making finishes and they're both making mistakes, but you don't feel that either of them, even when they're making finishes, have quite got control of the cue ball and are really controlling their finishes, and they're almost having to react to where they land and work it out as they're going along, rather than really getting to grips with it. When you watch a player in full flow, you sort of almost get that sense, you know, you've seen them pop 2 balls and you can see what they're trying to do, and it's all there and laid out for them, and they work their way through it, whereas that's not quite happening for these guys out there right now. And I feel like the player that can really grab this match by the scruff of the neck is going to have a great chance of winning it.
Well, Steve continues to hammer the break. He has caught the cue ball so well. Just sheer power. Quite often spins that white ball towards that the right centre pocket rather, but the power that he generates, I don't think he'll mind too much. Almost seems to be the way he does things. Invariably makes a ball, gives himself a chance. He's got one here. Just feel like he needs a route back into this match. Steve Singh, he's lost the last couple on the spin.
Really wants reds. Can't see one of the ones in the middle of the table, so has to come down the table, and first positional shot goes wrong. I think he can still just drop one in the middle, but it's not ideal. He wanted to be on the one he's on. He wanted to be able to pop the one that he's very close to now.
And there you just see the reaction off the cushion. It is such a responsive table, this. And with the amount of side he was playing, it fizzed off that cushion. This is tough. Especially at that pace.
Problem you've got when you get out there, and it's surprising to see it happen the way it has, because Steve started off this match so well with a really nice break in dish, but you feel like it almost looks like the chances are getting harder for him. They're not, but it's just the way he's feeling out there at the moment. He's putting himself under more pressure with where he's leaving himself than he needs to.
Yeah, Steve started well and has faded. Jez didn't start the best, but is growing in this match, despite giving away a frame by losing the 8 ball as well. He's been strong. Takes a lot of character to come back from a moment like that, because if he'd lost the next frame, he'd have been really up against it, but he's really fought. There's Jez Graham. He's got himself in a great position here.
I think the yellow at the top of the table passes the one nearest the corner pocket, so he can drop this in if he wants to. He could play on the one at the bottom cushion first if he wanted to. He has options. If you just drop this one in, he should be able to work the other 2 out. It's just which one he'd rather get onto the 8 ball with.
It's been a great clearance, this. He's growing into this game, isn't he, Jez? Really looks to be getting better and better, getting more of a grip on that cue ball. He looks the more solid player at this juncture, that's for sure, and he takes the lead as we edge towards that final 10 minutes, which will, of course, introduce that 15-second shot clock. It's a crucial frame to win that for Jez, and you want to be leading heading into that moment because both of these players will not have experienced the pace that 15 seconds will give them.
Yeah, and for me, it wasn't just the fact that he made the clearance there. He had perfect control all the way through that clearance. He controlled the finish rather than letting it control him, and he looks like he's settled in, as you say. He's grown into this match, so he's in front at the right time. I also think time will tell. It'll be interesting to see how Steve handles the 15 seconds. I think Jez will probably handle it okay. You know, he's a player that does like to get on with it. He is a player that I don't think will struggle too much, but 15 seconds is so short that everyone does have it does take some adjusting to.
So nice to be back on Monday nights on Free Sports with the pool. We'll be with you for 20 more weeks of this competition. It's a big, big comp, this. Will run over the course of a better part of 2021. Every Monday night we'll be here. 4 new players for 16 weeks. Then we'll have 4 weeks worth of the last 16, which will continue in the same format. And then we'll have finals night. It goes without saying because the lineup in the first rounds are so good, but how good are those last 5 weeks of the competition going to be? Just ridiculous.
It can't fail, can it? Has to be massive. We've also got some really some good up-and-coming players in the event, so it'd be nice to see some of those come through as well and really try and mix it up with some of the greats of the game.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of everything, haven't we? We've got some of the youngsters in, we've got some of the more unknowns, we've got some internationals, got women's world champ in the mix as well. And believe you me, there are plenty of players who wanted to be in this competition as well, who are forced to sit on the sidelines and wait their turn. This is an exclusive club, the Masters. 64 fine players. Only one will win that 10 grand top prize. 20 grand prize pool too, which is decent money.
It is decent money, and we mentioned it in the last event. The money's been generated through sponsorship rather than player entries, which is normally the way in pool or in the pool world, and it's such a massive thing for the pool world to have events like this that are generating big prize pots without having to put in big entry fees or have big fields to make it work. It's fantastic to see, and it shows the progress the pool is making.
So that noise tells you that after this shot, it'll be 15 seconds a shot for Jez Graham.
He's got a plan for these balls at the top here. He's eyed them up right from the start. He's left them till late, but you know, it's not easy to see exactly how he's going to go about this.
Oh, red, good plan.
Great plan. Just look how close he is to making this shot. If it drops in, he makes the finish. It's really good effort. I know he's ultimately failed on the clearance, but it's another sign for me that he's sort of really grabbed the cue ball in this match, and he's making plans out there.
I didn't think 15 seconds would bother Steve Singh somehow.
I had yeah, similar sort of feeling myself. Excellent skill shot. The days of leaving balls over pockets being a big saviour are sort of gone with the skill shot rules. Pot yours and your opponent's ball in the same shot. Opens everything up. Really lends to attacking Paul.
Does take some execution, mind. It's really worth pointing out. He made that look really easy, Steve Singh, but he had 3 seconds to play it, and it wasn't the easiest shot in the world. Needs to get a good angle on this one. Has he got it far enough around the table? It's a pretty good positional shot there. I tell you what, it's been some clearance. This has been a really impressive clearance. We talked about, is he starting to fade? Is his mentality still there, Steve Singh? Well, that's our answer. He is very much alive and kicking in this match, and that was a fantastic counter clearance with the 15-second shot clock.
Yeah, it really was. It was almost as though the 15 seconds has woken him back up from 4-2 ahead to 5-4 down. It looked like he was struggling. He'd made mistakes, a couple of missed pots, a couple of positional errors, a foul in there as well. But all of a sudden, the 15 seconds kicks in, and he stepped in and punished I don't want to really call it a big mistake from Jez, because he took on a finish and he was a draw away from making that finish, but he stepped in there and he punished it.
Oh, it's a really close match. Really close. Just have the feeling this might well go right to the wire. 7:52 on the watch, 15-second shot clock. There could still be a number of frames left in this one. Still could be 5 if it goes the distance, which it might. It's a poor break from Steve, easily the worst he's hit in the entire match, really. It's left a bit of an awkward split, and Jez thought that was in. And actually, it's not an awkward split anymore because it looks quite open. You could pick either colour set here, it's not a bad run.
One yellow to work out. Yellow next to the 8 ball, that's the only ball. I don't know if he can get to the potting angle. The red looks like it might just be in the way, but he's got balls near enough to it that he can solve that fairly comfortably. Looks like he has angle. He could just top through and rest on the red. That will open everything up. I had the angle where he was moving into the 8 ball and the yellow.
I think that's come out okay. Yeah, he just had a little look at the 8 ball, didn't he? Just to see it was still available into that bottom left pocket. The speed of which he moved on, I think, tells us it's still okay, or whether he just had to get a shift on just to make his next shot. It's tough to tell, but he looks pretty happy.
Even if the 8 ball doesn't go to the bottom left, he has an angle where he'll be able to, actually it's going to be easier for him to get onto the 8 ball into the top left than it is the bottom left. It might go into the right centre. Oh, he's a bit awkward on whichever pocket he's played for it in. I think he's played for it in the top left. This is a very missable 8 ball.
Oh, this is tough. Key frame too. Miles off. That's all on the position. All on the position, because you back him to make that if he's in good position. But that was horrible. It's interesting you said he's played for it in the top left and come up short, because I thought from the way he played it that he left it for the right middle. Just showed how in no man's land he was, really.
Yeah, and for me, I think it comes down to, I think it was easier to play for it into the top left. It was difficult to tell whether it went into the right middle, but I think the previous shot where he left himself too much angle on the yellow to the bottom right corner, where he had a ball over a pocket, he could almost pick the angle he wanted in that situation. He just left himself too much. Just a little bit more precision in that situation would have left him straight in on the 8 ball rather than the cutback angle, which is always going to be missable. It was a missed 8 ball at the wrong time, because Jez has made very light work, as expected, of what was left.
Yeah, chewed up a little bit of clock while he did it as well, which you can do on a 15-second shot clock, believe it or not, when it's as easy as that.
Yeah. Ooh. The 8-ball rattled. I didn't expect that. Just for a second, I thought, is that going to stay up? But it does drop in, and Jez does take that lead again. 6-5 now. 4 minutes left on the clock. Still time for Steve.
Well, this is Jez Graham, the man from the southwest. He has got an excellent CV. He's a World Championship runner-up, at least in the doubles, a little while ago. And I think you were investigating this earlier on, weren't you, Simon, as to who his opponent was? Right in thinking it was Clint Jansen?
Yeah, so it was Clint Jansen and Jordan Church. So with the potential of that matchup in the final, obviously Clint not making it through, but Jez playing with Darren McVicker in that tournament. Fantastic to see those guys get through to the final, but he came up short against Jordan Church and Clint Jansen.
6-5 up then, Jez Graham leads. 4 minutes and 5 seconds remaining in this semi-final matchup tonight. Winner plays Jordan Shepherd for the right to qualify through to the last 16. Makes the ball. Good break this from Jez Graham. Needed that.
His breaks got better and better and better as this night's gone on. He's really getting through that break well, catching it very full. Good opportunity. A couple of yellows in the triangle area are going to be awkward for him. Don't think either of those have a pocket. Maybe one of them to the top right, but landing on it to the top right, very difficult. So maybe looking for a little nudge at some point. Not sure that was much more than a very speculative effort or some sort of safety shot. Didn't look like there was quite enough room to get through to the potting angle of the yellow as a plant.
Steve's aggressive, isn't he? He'll always take this on. Keep an eye on that match clock because we are now very much in play here.
Wants to cannon the red that's nearest the corner pocket and catches the yellows rather than a red, and it hasn't quite opened up, but he's got second prize because he's got the perfect angle to open them up once again. Oh, once again, he's not quite opened them up. Has an angle for a third try. This time he's opened it up, and he has landed on the red into the middle pocket. Difficult pot, but all he has to do is drop it in.
May well set us up for a decider here.
Oh, what a pot. Brilliant.
Never in doubt that was much trickier than he made it look. Steve Singh when the chips are down. Goodness me, he's delivered in this frame. He's looked brilliant. A fantastic clearance to square things up. Oh, he's missed the 8-ball. And Jez Graham with a huge chance. Oh, I don't believe it. Did not think it was coming. Did not think that was coming. Jez Graham just needs to see this out now. 3 balls and then the 8-ball. Will leave such little time left on the watch. Oh, what a time to find the jaw of the pocket. He'd looked bulletproof in that entire clearance.
It was just one of those where he'd gone further onto the 8-ball than he really wanted to. He wanted to be a simple straight in on it, and he's just that extra foot away. Okay, if he gets left that 8-ball, he's never going to miss it, and he probably should never miss it from where he finished, but it just adds that doubt to your head. And yeah, it was a poor miss, but it's going to really frustrate him if this black goes in for Jez.
Yeah, it really will. It is a tough one to take. And Jez Graham, with 20 seconds left on the watch, goes 7-5 up and all but ices this game. Steve Singh now, needing a miracle.
Yeah, and he knows it. Golden break, maybe, but you're then asking Jez to golden duck as well. It's so unlikely. It's just not going to happen. And Steve, he should be 6-6, instead he's 7-5 down. That is it's gonna really hurt him for a while, I think. All that hard work, last couple of frames, couple of chances he's had.
Oh, it's a sickener. It really is. 21 seconds left then. Keep an eye on that 8 ball. That's staying pretty resolutely glued. And that will just about ice the game. Oh, what a sad moment for Steve Singh. Really thought we were going to a decider there in the final sort of 100 seconds of this match at 7 apiece, at 6 apiece rather. It'd have been a grandstand finale, but as it is, Jez Graham gets over the line. A brilliant win for Jez Graham, huge moment for him, and he'll go into the final against his good buddy Jordan Shepherd as well. A fantastic final to come and a well-earned final for Jez Graham. But just a word on our second semi there, Simon. It could scarcely have been closer.
Had plenty of drama in it, didn't it? Lots of twists and turns. We saw a few more mistakes in that semi than we saw in the first semi of the night. Both players missed a couple, but both players also showcased some brilliant ball as well, made a couple of really good clearances. I think for me it looked like Jez was going to really grab the match and look to have the cue ball under a bit more control towards the end, but all of a sudden in 15 seconds we saw Steve come back, and other than that missed 8 ball, we would be talking about a 6-red shootout rather than Jez going through.
Amazing drama in our second semi-final, but it sets it up for our final on the night. This for a place in the last 16. It's Jez Graham versus Jordan Shepherd, and it's live when we return.
This program is brought to you by Apply Mortgages.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Pool Masters here on Free Sports. Our final is set, and Simon, it is set to be an absolute cracker as well, as Jez Graham is about to take on Jordan Shepherd. Both have won their opening matches tonight. Jez really by hook or by crook towards the end of that second semi-final, but he's got to compose himself really quickly because he's got a really top opponent coming up and lying in wait for him.
Yeah, you'd say on paper that Jordan would start the match as favourite because of everything that Jordan's achieved, but from what we've seen on performance-wise alone in tonight, you'd say that Jordan starts as favourite. Jordan was very, very sharp. The one thing we will say with Jez is he got stronger as the match went on, and he did look very, very good at the end of the match. So Jez needs to continue that on, but it's not easy once you've had a big win like he just has to 4 minutes later you've got to go again and play that final. So sometimes that can work against you, and sometimes you can just keep rolling and go again. So it'd be important for me, I think, for Jez to get off to that good start and just to continue where he left off in the last match.
How easy is that to do, though, to roll on with that momentum? Because there's naturally, especially with the way that match ended, going to be a bit of an adrenaline dump, you'd imagine, for Jez. He's just got to sort of ride that wave, hasn't he?
Yeah, I suspect all he wants to do now is chill out and just take that in for a few minutes and actually then prepare himself for the match. But you can't do that. And I think in the pool world you are used to playing match after match after match. Not always 4 minutes on TV, but you are used to playing matches in quick succession. I think for me it comes down to the first couple of opportunities. If Jez gets that good first opportunity and he's able to take it, then he's up and running again, and he's like, okay, I can just continue this really good form. If the first opportunity that Jez gets is tricky, then we might see it go the other way.
Here we go then. It's Jordan to break first. And he's not going to make a ball, or is he? Yes, last ball in motion pretty much is in the top left hole for Jordan Shepherd. Good chance here for Jordan Shepherd. Delighted to say, as this first frame gets underway, that we were able to catch up with Jez Graham in the interval, and he gave us his thoughts ahead of this big match. Oh, Jez, you join us just a mere moments after that result is confirmed. Has the heart rate settled down at all? It got a bit nervy
Not really, no. I missed a few simple balls early on in the match to give Steve a bit of a lead. He kept going like 1 and 2 in front, and I had to pull my socks up in. Luckily, towards the end, I just got a bit of momentum, and 1 or 2 misses from Steve, especially that black to go 6-all. that was massive from Steve. So, but yeah, I just dug in and done what I needed in the end.
Did you feel like you grew into that game, got a bit more used to it? We were speaking on commentary about how you hadn't been playing a huge amount, particularly over the last 12 months. Do you feel you had to sort of build yourself back in again?
Well, yeah, I felt like, funnily enough, I've not really been playing apart from really the last 2 days, but I felt I've been queuing well. And but then being put in front of the cameras, it's a different story again. But I think overall I queued all right, and apart from a couple of silly mistakes early doors, I sort of closed the match out quite nicely in the end. So, and yeah, I'm really happy with that.
Not getting any easier for you. Jordan Shepherd in tonight's final for a place in the last 16. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, yeah, Jordan, he's a great player, one of the world's best, and I've got nothing to lose. But I'm queuing well. If I keep breaking well like I did towards the end of the match, then I've got a good chance. But I've got to play well and not miss those easy balls.
Wish you all the best.
Yep, thank you, Steve. Cheers, buddy.
Well, nice words, but he's about to find himself 1-0 down almost instantly. It was great to speak to Jez, actually. He was very clearly buzzing, and so he should be. But he will have work to do tonight if he is to advance out of this group. And you've just seen why. Jordan Shepherd, in the background of that interview, quietly and clinically going about his work. This is what he's up against, a 5 times shootout champion. There's only been, I think, 7. He is that dominant in this form of the game. He's a 2 times IPA Open champion, 3-time IPA professional champion, as well as a Welsh international. He dominates this format, and as we've seen so far, he has turned up in a dominant mood.
Yeah, you can tell he's been putting the time in and he's been practicing, and he is really sharp. This is as good as I've seen him for a while. So much better than his performance in the last tournament, and just continued off where he left off in the last match. It's just make a ball off the break and continue and mop him up, break dish to start.
That is a statement opening break, isn't it, for Jordan Shepherd? Jez now needs to respond. He's made a ball, that's the first thing. But you just get the feeling, rather, Simon, that if Jez is to pull this off, and it would be a big shock, if he is to do it, and it is fully possible, he needs to take every chance available to him, and this is the first. This is a big chance.
Yeah, you have to put Jordan under pressure. You can't let him get away from you. Once he gets in front, normally he's a fantastic front runner. So it's important, as I said, when we started this match off, I think for Jez coming straight back on the table, it's important that he, makes the most of his first opportunity. Okay, it's coming in frame 2 rather than frame 1, but you have to make the most of it and remind yourself and remind Jordan that you are playing some good ball and you're going to take the chances that come your way. And he's got a great chance to do so as well. What a lovely break that was from Jez, and he said in his interview that this break got stronger and stronger as the match went on, and I completely agree. Possibly a little bit straighter than he really wants to be, but I think he's got enough angle to punch this over. Actually, he had plenty in the end. Needed to be on the one nearest the pocket. Jez is having a really good look. I don't know whether that means he can't quite see the one over the pocket. It looks like he's come far enough.
He's having a really good look, isn't he? Someone who will know, I think, is Jordan Shepherd. He's queuing right into his eye line.
I think he's playing the one nearest him. I think he thinks there's just enough room for it. Looked tight to me. It looked very, very tight. Maybe he didn't quite come far enough to get on the ball he wanted to be. Actually, you can see from the overhead he hasn't come far enough.
Well, we said, didn't we, right at the very top of that frame, if Jez is to pull this off, he has to take his chances, because there won't be many second chances. Against a player of this quality, in this kind of mood, beauty of Paul is that anyone can beat anyone, truly. And it's a brilliant, beautiful thing about this sport. But it does mean that the player unlikely to has to play almost perfectly.
Yeah, you either need some help from your opponent, or you're going to have to play some great ball, or more often than not, a combination of them both. And the one thing I don't think that Jez is going to get tonight is some help from Jordan. I expect Jordan, now he's found this form, to just continue on. So Jez needs to get more chances, and he needs to start taking them.
Well, a hit
What
will
a
be good
shot.
news, and that's why he needs to find another good shot. It's tough to see initially. This is not easy. He's made one great bank shot. Might need another.
I can't see of him. We're looking at maybe bottom right, but I can't see how he can. It's very difficult to pick that angle. I don't see how else you can, where else you can go. Maybe right centre, but that yellow looks like it's in the way.
There's bottom right. That looks a good line. Oh, what a shot! Oh, what a shot that is! Oh, that's a disgusting double. What a win that is for Jez Graham. He even has the audacity to give a little hand to Jordan Shepherd. Sorry about that. As if he means an iota of it. What a shot that is. In the circumstances, amazing.
It's incredible. The first shot was brilliant. He had to create the angle. He had to screw into the cushion to create the angle so that it would arc round to be able to make the ball over the pocket, which he managed to do. Obviously, you don't know whether you're going to land on the next ball, and he didn't. To pick out the angle for that double into the bottom right corner is so hard to do, and it was brilliant stuff from Jez, and that, you know, that is certainly going to get Jordan thinking.
What a shot.
Oh, what a break.
Sledgehammer. It's actually not come out too nicely. That bottom left table needs sorting, but if he can, everything else is there.
He wants a yellow here. Okay, he's got an easy red to the right centre, but how do you then develop the red that's a real problem, the one he's right next to? If he goes yellows, then that little cluster of 3 yellows are solvable. He's got one that goes and he can open up the other 2, so much more important that he goes yellows, which is why he's taking on his harder ball. It's awkward queuing, though.
It's horrible queuing. You can see there, perfect angle of it. This is horrible queuing, but he has got the time to figure it out. He's called his extension just to give himself that extra time to... It's awkward queuing, it's a tough pot. But he opens up the frame for himself. Great shot.
Good kiss as well. So the key here is not to go too far up the table. You need to be sort of half ball on the yellow to the bottom left corner, so that you go into the red and open everything up. And he is almost exactly half ball on this yellow. Key shot now. Not perfect, but he's got a shot. Really difficult to finish from here, though, even though he's got a tough pot to the top of the table or a very thin cut at the bottom of the table. To find the route to get out from here, very tough. Oh, that flick on the red's just hurt him. Without that flick on the red, he's perfect.
Yeah, he played the pacing of it beautifully, didn't he? Just couldn't quite thread the needle. I think he's got the chance. I think he's not... Yeah, he's got the line to see the yellow at the top of the table, I think. He's not going to take it on.
Double of his own.
Must be some shot. Not quite. Where's the white? Oh, well, Jez Graham. Now then. What a chance this is. Already pulled off a Houdini-esque escape in frame number 2. Can he take the lead? Against the serve.
Lands nicely on the red to the down the bottom or the right hand rail. Then it's sort of plain sailing from there. He just has to play plain ball shots, and he has landed perfectly. suspect he'll play for the 8-ball in the centre pocket. They're always a little bit trickier than they look on screen, but because he's going to be straight in on the red to the bottom left as his last ball, and he's guaranteed to be right behind that 8-ball, I just can't see him missing it. It's actually probably far enough away from the cushion that it's not going to be that tricky either.
Just might be starting to believe. Long way to go, but Jez Graham takes an early lead. Breaks the throw, as it were, of Jordan Shepherd. Could be a big moment in the match, that, from Jez Graham. 38-year-old from Plymouth. As I mentioned, a World Championship doubles runner-up, as well as a multiple Southwest Tour winner. You know how hard that tour is to win.
Yeah, very high standard of tour. A lot of great players play on it. He's had great success on it. He's had great success throughout his career.
Just see there the close-up of Jez in between the frames. Don't want to say it looks like he's feeling it, but he's not putting out the greatest body language, is he?
Still early in the match. It'd be interesting to see if he maintains that as he gets closer and closer to getting through.
Broke brilliantly first time around. It's another hammer. If he can keep breaking like this, he will give himself every chance.
Well, both these guys are breaking huge right now, aren't they? Really are. Look how well he gets through this pack. Just ping open.
See there, immediately bottom left of the table, the 8-ball's a bit of a problem. This just needs a little bit of figuring out. This is a lie that you're grateful you get in the first 40 minutes of the match, not the final 10, because this at a 15-second shot clock, mistake is almost inevitable. This just needs a little bit of working out for Jez Graham.
Using his extension as well. I think reds have to be the colour set. I don't think the yellow next to the, well, that little cluster at the bottom left, I don't think the yellow goes. I don't think you can see enough of it, and I don't actually think it passes the red either. But the red, you can use that to develop the 8-ball. So there is a chance here on reds.
Oh, he needed the first shot, though. He needed the first shot. It's not the easiest shot, make no mistake, but it's a shot that if you're to have any chance of winning this match, you just got to take those chances. He's already shown his shot-making ability. That's an easier one than several of some of the crazy shots that he's made already in this match.
It's going to be very interesting to see when Jordan goes down to try and develop this 8-ball. He lost the last frame because when he tried to play a developing shot, it didn't come out perfectly. He may well find himself in a very similar spot in this frame. Choosing to clear the 3 at the top of the table up first. I think he's going to want to leave that red over the right centre as his last ball. He might be able to play the red off the yellow, which would ping the 8-ball up the table. If not, he's going to play the red and go into the 8-ball. If he can play it off the yellow, it opens it up more. Well, he couldn't. Well, it may not go straight, but it's not that difficult to play it off the cushion, then off the yellow. So job done for Jordan in terms of opening it up. Still needs to finish off the clearance.
He's in the mood tonight. Really has barely missed a beat. Just never looked in doubt, did it? From a lot of players, that's not an easy shot. You'll leave that as your 8-ball chance, but that never looked in doubt.
Yeah, just never expected him to miss that, did you? It really was, you know, it makes them look easier than it really is. It's not that easy. But the whole finish was worked out well. He worked out that he needed to clear those 3 at the top first and then come down and back himself to make that, and he did.
Well, if you've enjoyed tonight, you'll enjoy next week and the week after as well. Next week is such a good lineup. John McAllister, Dylan Leary, Luke Gilbert and Chris Melling. What a lineup next week.
Yeah, good to see Chris back as well, fresh off his victory in the Champions League. Great to see John
Can't get him off
McAllister
free
in the
sports at the minute, Chris Melling.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty of time.
It's a good job he's playing well, otherwise you'd be sick of the sight of him. He's been playing majestically over the last 2 to 3 weeks, hasn't he? But yeah, for John McAllister and Dylan Leary, that's a fairly horrible draw for them both, actually, because we saw Dylan at the back end of the Champions League pool, and he got himself in a nightmare group, but actually looked very good within that as well. Ran a couple of very, very good players very close. I think a longer format would suit him. And you got, you know, IPA World Champion John McAllister in the mix. It's some foursome, that.
Yeah, it's a great lineup.
Mark Farnsworth and Phil Harrison in week 3, by the way, but we'll get to that in a bit.
We're going to be saying this every week. It's just the way it goes.
If we are just sounding like excited pool fans, that's exactly what we are at this stage. And we hope that's how many of you are feeling at home as well. It's a competition that certainly catches the eye, captures the imagination.
I've tried to work out which match or which group I'm trying to look forward to the most, and I can't. There's just too many of them. It really is. Just dry break from Jordan, having said how well both players are breaking. He did catch these really well this time, but unfortunately dry. Good chance for Jez to get his nose in front once again, and everything's open. I'm not sure that was the best positional shot he's ever played. He has a chance to recover.
He's had a couple of those in the middle, hasn't he? Where he's threatened to have that red chew back up and back out at him. Bravely taking those middle pockets on. We've only seen one bounce out on this table over the course of, I mean, what, 13, 14, 15 weeks we've seen Paul on it now. It plays really well, but we have seen one bounce out on this table. So a couple of threats at it from Jez tonight.
There are times as a pool player when you kind of think, oh, you're almost asking, you know, you're playing with big pace into the middle pockets like he was a couple of shots ago. You kind of half expect it to have a chance of bouncing out. So it's not a surprise to see them react the way they have.
Full credit to Jez Graham here. He's right in the mix. And he will hold his lead. He's not going away anytime soon. We've got ourselves a proper final tonight. Hope this would be the case, and so it is proving. Jez Graham is proving quite the problem for Jordan Shepherd here. 3-2 after 5.
3-2, and it's his break, and as discussed, he is breaking really, really well. So continue that, give yourself another opportunity, see if you can open up that gap to 2. Halfway to job done.
Oh, we're a third of the way through the match at 3-2. 5 frames out of a possible 15.
Jordan just looking a bit more frustrated than he has done so far tonight.
But I think the difference in the frustration compared to, for example, the last tournament we saw him when he was frustrated, just frustrated at the scenarios. He's not really put a foot wrong yet, Jordan Shepherd, which is why it's to Jez's credit that he's actually up. He's managed to take those chances. Yes, a couple, goodness me, he really had to take them, but he has taken those chances. He's had 3 opportunities, he's 3-2 up. That's all he can do. Needs to keep Jordan under the thumb. It's a very difficult thing to do, mind. Needs to keep breaking well too. Is this going to be his first dry break? Yes, it is. And what a split this is for Jordan Shepherd to look at, who, like a great white sensing blood, surges to the table. It's another good connection, this, from Jez. At least in terms of line, but you just saw the pack didn't quite split off the initial contact as he would have liked.
Yeah, not quite. It's didn't ping open as much as his previous couple of breaks did it? Not entirely sure if he just didn't quite catch it right. You can see when you're queuing on the break, the cue ball is bouncing as its way down the table, and sometimes you can just get that connection slightly wrong.
Just shows how well Jordan's passing. He's made those two middle pockets look ridiculously big, and that line had to be perfect. There was no margin for error on that. He's really playing well. We've got two players here who are pretty much at the top of their game. And Jordan Shepherd is always a pleasure to watch when he's anywhere near the top of his game. But he's almost impossible to beat when he's playing this well. It's a testament to how well Jez has played that he's keeping up with this relentless pace.
Another couple of inches would have been perfect, but he can still screw on and off the cushion. It's just what's making him think potentially about what he'd be leaving on that one in the centre pocket. I'll be surprised if he changes and goes centre first. He's not happy with it. I think the problem is he's just worried about leaving himself thin on the yellow into the centre pocket and going away from the 8 ball. And if in truth he's a touch fortunate to be on this, could have easily snookered himself on the red.
Never been in doubt, has it? Whole way through this break, that was clinical from Jordan Shepherd. He ties things up at 3 apiece. We are all to play for in our final tonight. It continues when we come back.
This program is brought to you by Apply Mortgages.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Pool Masters here on Free Sports. The play has been continuing during the break. Jordan Shepherd with a brilliant clearance has gone 4-3 in front. We now rejoin the action live inside the arena. We're ready to go with frame number 8, and we can recap that 7th frame for the viewers at home, Simon, because it was over pretty quickly. It was both players had a shot within it. It was a tactical battle at first, and then all of a sudden Jordan Shepherd went, you know what, I reckon I can clear these, and had a fantastic clearance.
Yeah, and another massive double. We've seen some brilliant doubles tonight from not just from Jordan but also from Jez, and it was another one from Jordan with a brilliant double in the centre, playing around a couple of cushions to get perfect position, and frame was over. Both players continue to be in great form, and a great chance here for Jez. Massive break. These have opened up. This is probably the best split of the night.
It's all there for him, isn't it?
No problems to work out at all. Just to pick his order. Which route does he want? Make sure. Don't get into any problems. I think he would rather have been another 2 inches up the table so that he doesn't have to go away from his work. He was straight enough to hold it. The only one that's causing him any sort of consideration or headache at all is that one nearest the triangle area. Plenty of room for it into the bottom left. It's just landing on it for that pocket.
How tough is this for Jez at this stage, Simon, just to keep on plugging away? Because I know you've been there at times in your career when you are taking on someone who you know in the other corner of the arena is one of the best in the world. It is difficult to know that you have to play perfectly. It's a unique sort of pressure, isn't it? Because against almost anyone else, you know you might get 1 or 2 second chances, but Jez knows he's got to play at his ultimate level here to win, and so far he's doing it, but how How difficult is that, not only to play at that level, but just with the mental side of things, to know you've got to?
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult. And actually, one of the things you need to do is you need to understand that you've got to take your opportunities, and you're not going to get those second bites of the cherry as Jez completes the break dish. But you don't want to be thinking about that either. You just have to focus on your opportunity at the table. Give every shot the consideration it needs. Back yourself to make your finishes. The only time you really should be considering the person the other side of the table is when you are in a sort of safety battle, or you're in a position where you are trying to consider, do I go for a finish here, or do I have to play safe here? You kind of, sometimes you might make a decision depending on the player you're playing against. But when you know you're playing one of the world's best, you just have to take the opportunities that come your way and see how things fall, and try not to overthink it. One of the things I always struggle with was playing against the top players. You always almost wilt because you expect them to clear up all the time. And you know, having spent a lot of time in the commentary box, you realise, okay, yes, they do clear up a lot of the time, but there are times that they don't, and you almost build them up too much in your own mind.
What a staggering break from Jordan Shepherd to have not made a ball. Look at the amount of movement at the top of the table. Not a single one. You can see they're not happy about it. See why. And at 4-4, it could be a pivotal frame to win.
Such a big break. Everything's gone up into the top half of the table, and actually it isn't that easy for Jez here. I don't know if he's got an easy opening ball. Maybe a red. I don't think he can see the yellow, can he? I'm not sure. Maybe he can just get through to the yellow. Well, he's potted the red anyway. And these reds actually do have a chance. The yellows would as well. It's just a bit congested. If he can get on the red that's nearest the top of the table, then he can come back down the table. Then the other four are fairly open. I'm assuming the one he's bridging over goes to the top right corner, of course, and the fact he's not taking it on now, I wonder whether it does. I think it's tight, but I think it does go, because he's looking at it in more a way of what position am I going to leave on that red at the top of the table to allow me to get back out into the middle of the table, and he may not be able to leave himself a particularly good angle, which is why he wanted a better angle on that red to the top right to be able to work his way back out into the middle of the table. And he's back on the same angle he had originally, so this isn't ideal. It's not what he wanted.
Issue is, of course, the closer towards the finish line of this clearance he gets, Jez Graham, the more compounded any misstep will be. Because at the minute, whilst yellows weren't particularly a great option at the start of Jez's visit, they certainly are now, and they will only get better the more reds he clears out the way. He can't afford to make a mistake here.
See, he's just not happy with the angle he's going to be leaving on this red at the top of the table. He's only able to get just off straight the wrong way.
Going to pass through the minefield, get out towards the centre table. Easier said than done.
Looks like he's got a little bit of angle. It's not straight, so looks like he can get out to at least give himself some sort of comfortable shot.
Oh, just did too much. Just did too much. He tried to hold the white rather than try and run it around. And see here how much side he had to play on it.
I just wonder, I mean, the way he was looking at all options, I thought he was on that red, and the fact that he's played that with so much side, I think maybe he had to just try and make the angle, just bend it around the yellow just a fraction, and it wasn't quite on.
So Jordan's going to use his extension. That red, though, for Jez might well be the saviour. It makes it difficult for him.
The only problem with that red is, I think well, it's Jordan's gone straight away and tried to move it. I was about to say that the 2 yellows that are together, he can play one of those off that red and open it up, but now he's nudged the red further over the pocket. He's actually made things harder for himself.
Some shot that, isn't it? Some shot that.
It's a shot of a man who's in it, playing with a lot of confidence.
He's made that look so easy. This is what he does when he's at his best. He makes this very, very difficult game look so almost heartbreakingly easy. Needs to be behind this yellow. He is. It's another great shot.
Just a little bit narrow on that screw back. He wanted to be a bit closer to that centre pocket just to give him that bit more margin of error, but he's just about okay.
Jordan Shepherd in fearsome form. He leads again, 5-4. And again, a true testament to the grit of Jez Graham. He's still hanging in there.
He is, but I felt like he almost talked himself out of that finish there. He overthought that positional shot and ended up leaving himself in a bit awkward. And still a great finish from Jordan Shepherd, though, to punish it.
This is our second quarter of the 64, as it were. Groups 5, 6, 7 and 8. We'll see these guys in the next 2 months or so. Big chance for the likes of Carl Sutton, Dave McNamara, Josh Kane, Jordan Church, Declan Brennan in the toughest to call quarter of the draw, but certainly the quarter of the draw where I think the biggest majority of players will fancy themselves with a ticket through to the semi-finals. So that's how that quarter will work. There will be a semi-finalist from that section of players.
I think they'll all be fairly happy with the way it's lined up. Some really good matches in there, some really tight ones to call, as you just said. It's going to be fascinating viewing to see how it all unfolds. Amazing how often this happens. You're breaking really well, you make a mistake, and all of a sudden the break comes up dry.
So it's one of those unwritten rules, isn't it? You just can't ever explain it, but it just happens so often. It is, of course, a coincidence.
Has to be, yeah.
But it just happens too often. It's a funny, curious thing, momentum in all of sport, but in pool it seems to present itself more prominently than others. And Jordan Shepherd, just get the sense, is starting to smell that finish line. If he wins this, he'll go 2 away. And he is playing with the aura of a man who's got a cab on the meter outside.
Full flow, isn't he? He's absolutely in full flight.
Beautifully done. 6-4 in the blink of an eye from Jordan Shepherd. We talked about the second quarter of the draw being good. How about the third quarter? Simon Fitzsimmons, who had that famous victory over Jordan Shepherd in the Shootout Grand Final up in Aberdeen all those months ago. Group 10 is, I'm dubbing it the group of death. There could be a few given that mantra. Ryan Davies enters the competition. He's got Sean Storey, Craig Waddingham, Jake Dunanila for company. And Group 12 sees Aaron Davies versus Shane Thompson. One of the matches of the round, that for me.
Yeah, that's a cracking little group, that one is. John Chambers, phenomenal player as well. Going to get to see him on Ultimate Pool, and Zach Shepherd, who we've seen a few times before. It's going to be a lovely little group.
That's not going to come up dry again, is it? Oh, John Shepherd, can't believe it. He's breaking a dream. You just can't break better than that. You can't do anything else other than hit the balls as well as that and just hope you get one. This may well be, even at this juncture, you know, best part of 20 minutes out, only 6-4. This might be last chance saloon here for Jez Graham, you feel. If he gives this one up, he's not going to find another route into the match. This is a crucial, crucial frame to win.
It is, especially when you look at the split here. He needs to work it out. It's awkward both ways. It looks easy both ways, but there's a yellow over the top left and a red over the bottom left that are causing problems depending on which colour set he wants to go. Looking at that overhead, the yellow at the bottom of the table looks like he could play that off the red, and that will open up that pocket for the 2 yellows above it if he wants to. So yellows look like his choice. He's overscrewed this.
Ooh, got well into that, didn't he? Just maybe that extra shot of adrenaline, just putting a little bit too much into it. It's easily done.
I think he's still on the yellow to the top right.
If he is, he's got away with one. He's not playing it. Or is he? Yeah, he is.
So now he could, if he wants to, come down to the bottom of the table to play that yellow I was talking about, try and open up the bottom left-hand corner pocket.
Yeah, he's just picking the angle there off this yellow over the right middle. Drift on down to the bottom cushion. Needs to get it right, wants to play this positional shot of all of them with the finest degree of error. He's underhit that, I'd say, a little bit.
That's okay, it's fine. He can get the cue ball back out into the open. He can still make the shot that we're talking about. The only problem he's got is he wants to move the red far enough away that it's going to open up both those yellows, so he needs to hit the shot with a decent amount of pace to make that happen. And if he hits it with a decent amount of pace, the white could run loose, so may look for a cannon on one of the reds with the cue ball.
And those are the ones you need to make.
Just catches the yellow too thick. Needs to get a little bit further up the cushion and then off the red. So chance now for Jordan Shepherd, and it's a decent one as well. That red could have gone anywhere, and it's actually gone into a very good position for Jordan.
Is at the moment the match swung crucially in Jordan Shepherd's favour. You have to figure it might well be.
For most of us, we look at a ball on the rail like the one nearest the bottom end of the table, and we think that's a awkward ball. Jordan sees that as his last ball. All going to be about landing with nice position onto it. Not the perfect angle to get onto that red nicely. Just off straight the wrong way, so he's going to be leaving the cue ball quite high up the table.
Well, we always say he's in pretty good moods. Generally, when Jordan Shepherd's in the mood, he has a habit of making these look very, very simple. This is tough, though. I promise it was. I promise it was. Ridiculous. So good from Jordan Shepherd. He's one away. One from home, one from a place in the last 16. The first man stamping his ticket into the next rounds. He's closer and closer, and goodness me, he looks good.
He looks very good tonight. This is as good as I've seen him play for a long, long time. It really is.
Yeah, forget your Champions League, forget even the events before lockdown. When we saw him win events, he didn't look this good. This is another level. This is him at his best.
He did put on a very good performance with the first event after the first lockdown, the Shootout series, but I think this tops even that. This for me is the best performance I've seen from Jordan in a Shootout event, in an OMG, who are now Ultimate Pool event. It is absolutely phenomenal what he's doing out there at the moment. Oh, what a break. Deserves something.
Funny old game, isn't it? Funny old game. and these reds look like roll-ins. That's surely going to be the last action of this one. It's a tough game at this point, but this should do it with 15 minutes to spare. Just has to finish up now. Jordan Shepherd, Jez Graham, a man who will at this point know the worst.
Jez Graham will be sat in his chair, hoping, praying for another opportunity, but he'll be fearing the worst, no doubt. As you say, it's laid out so nicely here for Jordan, and the mood he's been in, it would be a major shock to not see him take these out.
There'll be moments that Jez will look back on the long drive back down to Plymouth tonight. He's played really well. He's given a really, really good account of himself across 2 matches. He's played so well. But that won't stop the lingering doubt of a couple of moments in this match which might have just made it hinge the other way, or at least kept it in the balance for a little bit longer. Jordan Shepherd, it's difficult to think of a mistake he's made. It's been that good, particularly in this second match. He played really well in the first against Clint. You don't beat Clint without playing really well. This has been something else. The Welsh Wizard books his ticket through to the last 16. A stunning performance from Jordan Shepherd. 2 top performances against 2 top players, and that is him through to the last 16. What a phenomenal performance, Simon. It is difficult to say just how good that was. It's tough to put into words.
He was brilliant in both matches. He turned up, you know, he said before he played tonight that he was in, you know, he'd put the time in, he'd practiced hard, and he was sharp, and he proved it. Both matches he played brilliantly. Only a couple of small mistakes in that first match, got the most of the chances and was able to put Clint away. And then in that final there, he was pushed to 4-4. He was pushed. He was really put under it by Jez, who played some great pool as well. But then once he got the opportunities, once he got himself in front, he just ran. He was absolutely brilliant. Deserved winner on the night, and fantastic stuff.
Well, the only sad thing to come from this, of course, is we've now got to wait a long time to see Jordan Shepherd in this event again. We'll see him after 20-odd weeks in the last after 16 weeks rather, in the last 16. So we've got a little while to wait, but I promise we'll keep you entertained until then. These are how the next 3 weeks look on Free Sports on Monday nights. It is set to be such an entertaining next few weeks. John McAllister, Dylan Leary, Luke Gilbert, Chris Melling next week. That is such a good lineup. That is going to be one of the best lineups that we'll see all tournament. And then you've got Phil Harrison and Mark Farnsworth headlining Group 3 as well. It will just keep on coming.
It really will. But next week, fantastic lineup. We've seen Dylan and Chris obviously winning the last event, but great to see John McAllister getting into this event as well. It's going to be fascinating to see how he goes, and it's a really stacked lineup again next week.
It certainly is, and we can't wait to join you. It'll be a slightly earlier time next week of 6:30. Do join us then on Free Sports. Monday nights are back to being pool nights, and we couldn't be more grateful for that. With the lineup you've seen tonight and the quality you've seen from the Welsh Wizard tonight, you'll want to join us next week too. We'll see you then.
This program is brought to you by Apply Mortgages.